Shivan, bro,
Hello,
what was on the menu tonight, brother?
kia ora, kia ora. Don't know if you know, I'm actually living with my parents now. So
I
this is
figured,
week
bro.
three, week three.
I was gonna
But
say
good.
your house, you've furnished your house amazingly, is what I thought
This is
when I was watching your
the
YouTube videos.
oh, thank you. Yeah, yeah. This is the guest bedroom, the guest room. Sorry, the guest room. So my parents usually have two rooms. You've got the TV lounge, and you got the guest room. This is the guest room, and obviously during this time now, there's no guests. So hence, it's like a lot of little trinkets. I'll show you something. Like we've got this here. Oh,
Where is it?
there we go.
Oh yeah,
There it
Santa,
is.
Santa
So
Globe.
yeah,
No,
yeah. I mean Santa. Yeah, yeah. So all these little trinkets. Imagine like that times 100 around the house. So yeah, but
nice.
on the menu, it's called string hop. So it's called idiopum. That's like the cultural name, but the English name is string hoppers. So I don't know how my mum makes it, but it's like noodles.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So that was on the menu tonight. So yeah.
loose. I cooked up
How about
my
yourself?
my sister in law, they and brother as well. They gave me a HelloFresh box the other week, so I managed to make it last 2 weeks. So I'm on the second week. So I had to get rid of the silver beet. I don't really like silver beet anyway, so there was no love lost there. And meatballs, that was hearty. Yeah,
Oh, okay, nice.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
because
old
I know how. Yeah, sorry,
you
you go,
go.
you go.
Nah, you
I
go.
know, I know. Yeah, I know HelloFresh do they do like a really simple meal. Like they got different categories. So one's like gourmet, and they have like really quick meals. So when I was living in Christchurch, because I hated shopping on the weekends. It's just so much decisions you got to make. Like you got to plan your meals. So like the beauty of HelloFresh, it's done all for you. And they had these like 50, cook your meal in like 20 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah,
So like that was really good. Yeah, but I think I suspect meatballs is quite hard to because you got to like put the egg in there, you got to like put it into balls and then cook it up.
yeah. This. I got the protein rich one, and this was a
Okay.
good 45 minutes. There's still like a heck ton of carbs. Like the base meal, like for this was cauliflower and potato mash, so that took up a fair chunk of the plate. But no, it was good. The meatballs was just lamb mince and cheese, which was hearty, and then salt and pepper, so that wasn't too bad. Mate, the old snow globe is pretty hearty for demonstrating floaters, and vitreous detachments, bro. Have you
I've
have you
never.
adapted a snow globe to
No,
have an eyeball
I
in
think
it?
I should do that. That's actually a good idea. I think I've got a snow globe here. I think, do I have one? Or yeah, so that would be a good idea. I usually use an eye. I should have an eye somewhere. There you go, man. Eye
Oh,
right there, eye model.
you got the good one.
Yeah, man. It's always open that up to show people.
Yeah.
So, oop. So yeah.
When
But
did you
no,
score
the
that?
snow globe would be a good idea. I think on Trade Me for about $40. So I always wanted a model, and like I think there are models online, some online store selling for like $200. I think because I suspect it's just for businesses, right? So you can
Yeah.
charge more. Yeah.
The
But no, snow globe, good idea. I'll talk to my boss about that.
yeah. Harriet.
Yeah.
um, I was just going to say one regret I have in life is there's an old antique shop up on Ponsonby Road, and I ducked my nose in there when there was like I just finished optometry, and there was an old tin eye chart in there, and it had like a fan and block on it, had a letter chart, and a couple of other targets on it, and it was going on sale for about $150, and of course I just finished uni and was dead broke, and I was like, oh
Yeah, tell me
nah.
about it.
I was like, no, I can't justify this. And then I went back. I was up in Auckland again at the end of January, and I went back in and it had sold, and I was like, oh man. So yeah, if anyone ever finds a tin even I'd really love to get a light box chart to stick behind.
Yeah, no. I'm thinking I'm on the same. Yeah, I'm on the same sort of lines as you because I want to. I've started a YouTube channel and I want to put stuff in the background instead of having old antiques for my parents given from other people. I want to have like cool optometry stuff. Like yeah, like you said, a illuminated letter chart. So like maybe some old trial frames.
Yeah,
I'd love. I don't know where to get them from, but yeah, it's a missed opportunity, Ryan.
I'm
Definitely, that wants to be shot.
I'm sure you can start burrowing around the fielding offices, mate, and you might be able to find some stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they got junk that could be, it's gold to me.
So, mate, how long have you had in
Yeah.
Christchurch, and you've returned home? So, what's that
Yeah,
been like?
that's a yeah, it's a big story. We can delve into it
Yeah,
more,
bro, let's
but
go.
not to bore your listeners too much. So um, I guess like I'll do a bit of background too. So I know Ryan. Ryan, you're in my final year when I was in my first year, so that kind of shows time,
Yeah.
to put it in a nice way. So I've been both optometrists, and I've been in Christchurch for 6 years. So that's my first time. Me working in Christchurch was pretty much the first time in Christchurch. So I landed actually first foot into the South Island was an interview at down in Christchurch. So never lived there before. From Palmerston North originally, which is where I am right now. Auckland for 5 years for study. Christchurch for 6 years, and now I'm back in Palmerston North. So that's kind of like the overall story. So yeah, it's been good. Currently, I'm just on a bit of a break. So
Mm.
yeah, kind of enjoying just relaxing at home. So this is week 3, enjoying mum's food, as you heard. So yeah,
Nice. And who did you go work for out of graduation?
yeah, good question. So it was Specsavers, the big corporate, multinational corporate Specsavers. I had 3 jobs at Christchurch, well 4. So I was there for 3 years,
Which
and
which
kind of felt
practice were you at?
yeah, that was out in Hornby, so it's
Yep.
out. If you know Christchurch, yeah, West Christchurch. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is West. Yep, I was there for 3 years. So yeah, it was a good start to the career. Lucrative, and they help you. Well, they really, you know how it is, right? Like they'll try and get you a
Yeah, I
job
got
before
I
you
got bored
graduate.
though.
Yeah, no, that's gonna happen. So I think 3 years, kind of you're not really learning much. I think the next level
Hmm.
is you either buy into a practice, and that's a really big investment. So yeah, like buying into a practice is not
You
a
don't just
light
front up,
decision.
eh?
No, you don't front up. It's a 5, 10 year decision, even 20 year decision. So if you want to make any realistic gain, um, that being said, I've never owned a practice in my life, so but that's why I perceive it as it's a big decision. But if you're just working there, you're going to get bored pretty quickly. And I think if you're not learning, then you got to move on. So moved on to another practice, which is kind of a medium-sized nationwide practice, Matthews.
Yeah.
That was really good too. But like I said, for me, I was there for 2 years, I think, sort of hit the ceiling in terms of skill. And then moved on to a smaller independent. So that's Photo Optometry. I enjoyed it there too. And now I'm back in Palmerston North just for other reasons. So that's more family reasons coming back to Palmerston North. So that's kind of like my and you could say personal reasons as well, but really family as well coming back here.
Nice. Yeah. No, I was a bit like you, even though I'm from Invercargill. I'd spent plenty of time in Christchurch, but I sort of signed up to a graduate program with Specsavers, and originally I was going to go to Hobart, but then it seems to happen a little bit in my life actually. Met a girl. Need to learn that one maybe. Um, but so then I stayed in New Zealand and went to Christchurch, went to Riccarton, which was quite a good balance because we had the practice outside the mall and the practice inside the mall, and so I was sort of doing a 3-2 split on those. And I was getting Saturdays off to play rugby, and then I'd have like
Oh yeah, weekend work. That was a big thing. I forgot
yeah,
about that.
I think I had a Tuesday, which was actually quite fun. I used to line up the gym, go into C1 Coffee, and have lunch there. It was kind of like a bit of a luxurious day for me.
Yeah, like, while everyone's working and it's not too busy either. So that's
Yeah,
kind of like the advantage of
yeah,
having a weekday off.
yeah. But then I was like, that first year was good because like it was getting your head around trying to practice. Going from probably an hour 20 as a graduate, quickly jumping down to a 40-minute exam, and then all of a sudden I was at sort of 20 minutes, even though we were doing half-hour exams. And I was like, oh, okay, so now what do I do? And then so I was on the back of the head office being like, can I just start the pathway program now? And they're like, oh no, you got to wait. And I was like, oh well,
Yeah.
I'm starting to twiddle my thumbs. I need something else to sort of go. And they're like, oh well, there's going to be Fred Hollows coming up. And I was like, yeah, definitely put my name down for that. I want to go do that. But it was in Papua New Guinea, and we had this all like risk management meeting to go, and then in the middle of the meeting they talked about how a doctor who was a local and two doctors who were locals had just been kidnapped by their local village. They were alive and fine, but that put paid to the to go to Papua New Guinea, and then Peterson Byrne had a position, and sort of 6 months after of negotiating that, they ended up paying out my graduate fee and got to move, and that was a bit like going to Matthews-ish. They're a little smaller than Matthews, but again, sort of halfway between corporate and independent practice. And funnily enough, I'm back here now and try my hardest to figure out the way to go into practice ownership, which, as you just said, is like a big deal commitment, 5 to 10 to 20 years.
Your whole life, man. I reckon it's a lifelong investment, I think.
All of it, yeah. What did you learn? What was your progression of learning
from starting work?
Yeah,
that's a good question. So, going back to high school, I know you asked me about during work, but high school, university, I was quite academic.
Yeah.
So, what you learn in work, and I think everyone is like this. Everything is just so different. So many skills you got to like coordinate and think about, and you wouldn't really think about or be exposed to at school. So, like I said, very academic. I really like science. Both my parents are scientists, and I was really academic driven, like very results focused, like getting good grades in exams. But like when you come out of university, that doesn't really matter. Like, it's not important. Well, it's important, but I mean, it's not the be all end all. Like, no one's going to really care if you can recite all the pathologies of the eye. You just need to know what you need to know and know what you don't know, and then be able to communicate that with the person. So for me, the really big thing, and I'm still working on it today, is communication. So just be able to pick up, not just explaining things to people, but just understanding I call it their second language. It's like their body language. So there's things they don't tell you, but they're telling you if you're listening. And I get it wrong sometimes, but that's the main things I've learned, is that communication.
I had one of those situations today. It was like someone came in super panicked. They'd had cataract surgery last week, and they were super panicked. And
I might have seen this on your Instagram, I think.
Yeah. So that was all it was the wound. And they had like uveitis basically over top of still being on a 4 times a day steroid drop. They were still inflamed, and like their wound was all swollen. So she'd called up on Friday when we were doing diabetic clinic and said like, my vision's blurry. I had cataract surgery on Tuesday, and in my head, you and I would be like, that's not out of the question. And then so I said, I'll just get her to come in on Monday. And then I'd had a quick look at her file, and there was notes that, possible swelling in the macula. And I was like, oh, here we go. This is cystoid macular edema. So I sort of came out, and she was like, do you know why I'm here? I'm like, yeah, the girls told me, and I've had a good look over your notes. She just kept saying, like, do you know why I'm here? And I was like, yeah, I know why you're here. Like, this is while we're in this room, we're taking an image of your macula, making sure you're not, the worst thing is not happening. And I was just like in the middle of telling her like the worst thing's not happening, and she just like blew up at me. She was like, I've got a heart condition as well, and I'm stressed out at the moment. I was just like, hang on, like slow down. And I was saying to my girlfriend, I was like, I just had to like kill her with kindness, like.
I feel like it happens quite a lot. So
I was just like,
you're not alone.
It was just like, we just need to slow down. I was like, I understand you're worried. I'm like, this is the most important thing when it comes to having cataract surgery. It's like 2% risk for no matter what. It's 2% risk. That's like, we're as a world we're learning about stepping into risk. And like these sorts of things, people don't think about when they have surgery. Like there's always risks with surgery, and for cataract surgery, it's that you might get swelling at your macula. Now it's treatable, but 2% of the time that happens, no matter what they do.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate too. But I guess you should be explaining that throughout the whole process. Maybe it's the person, but not saying you should, but I think maybe she didn't know, or it wasn't really made clear about the risks, as you say.
And I was and she had a little bit of macular degeneration, but I was like, see that's fine. It's all, it's there, but it's not, it's not actually broken her retina, but she had all these accumulations of waste products. I was like, we're good here. you know. And she's like, "Oh, have I done something?" I was like, "No. You haven't done anything. I'll be all right." And so then it was like Vision 2020. I was like, "Awesome." I was like, "So
Yeah, don't have to do anything. It's fine.
no,
It's good, but it's really good. Like it's so super pleasing. Like someone comes with an emergency, they're stressed, and then they go home at least relieved. Well, I think they're relieved. It's just a
yeah,
good feeling. It's satisfying when that does happen. It
yeah."
can go wrong.
Yeah, all I had to
But
do was just
it's
up her
satisfying.
treatment and gave her some
Yeah,
dilation. So I started thinking that it was inflammation when she was like, "Oh, I keep having this boring pain over the right side." I was
yes,
like, "Yeah, and I'm light sensitive." I'm like, "Yeah, you've just got inflammation." And yeah, her wound was a bit swollen. And
yeah,
that's the cool thing about some of the tools that we got. Like had corneal thickness, and it was a good 30 microns thicker in the surgery. And you'd expect that. She said two cuts in her cornea, so it's a little bit thicker. But yeah, it was just
yeah.
like, this is
Yeah, I can't believe yeah, the most of that's the norm, right? I think when I started, like we didn't have OCT like it wasn't the norm, but now it's like every practice has to have OCT. Well, that's for your viewers.
Did you
OCT
just
is
learn
what
it at
scans the back
uni?
of you.
Did
We
you
learned it at
learn it?
uni, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
'Cause
So for
my
people,
last years, we went through a couple. I think we even had like the last of the Heidelbergs, and then we changed to the OCTs. So yeah, that would have
yeah,
been, like you said, that was your first
Eh,
year. You learned it right the way through, right?
yeah, we're lucky. So I mean, it's super powerful as well. That tool. I mean, you could do a lot with it. Like glaucoma. So the OCT for your viewers, is a
Yeah.
way of scanning the eye, and it really helps with determining some diseases. So it's kind of like I don't know, an X-ray for your eyes.
It's a fish finder.
Um, Fish finder, yeah.
I've
It's great with
started
snow
explaining
globes.
it that
So.
way. Eh? It's like it
Yeah.
bounces light off all the layers in the retina. It's kind of like a fish finder. They're like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah. I guess my demographic wouldn't know, but I mean, so yeah, I guess it's like the really powerful tools and the norm now. So it's really amazing how technology's progressed. And the person I used to work for, their father did a like sort of a write up in a optometry magazine, and he was saying how it went from optometrists couldn't show frames, they couldn't display frames. That was even like a negative thing. They
Yeah.
couldn't diagnose diseases. To now it's like we can treat. So it's changed quite a lot. And they say that optometry is not, it's going down the drain, or things are getting, well, this AI is going to take over, but it's expanding. So it's quite exciting.
Yeah, bro. And you
Yeah.
did glaucoma training. What was that like?
Yeah. So yeah, that was good. So I did glaucoma. So glaucoma is basically a disease where it results in irreversible blindness. So, and that I did a certificate through Australian College for Optometry. So it's like
Did you
a
do that off
school
your own
in
back?
no. So that was funded by my first workplace.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was good. That was a good 6 month course, all online. That's another thing too. Like a lot of courses have become online these days. So you don't have to take time off work. You can do it while you're studying or while you're working. Sorry.
Mm.
That was a good course. So that gave me the ability to prescribe glaucoma medication. So those types of medications, they reduce eye pressure. So that's another powerful tool. So I think in 2014, optometrists couldn't prescribe any glaucoma drops, but with training, they can now prescribe glaucoma drops. And I think that's going to be the norm eventually. So that's the same thing with eye drugs. So like with what Ryan was saying about putting in the drops to reduce the inflammation for that lady. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't prescribe that, but now we can because we're all endorsed. Well, every single optometrist is getting endorsed with the ability to prescribe therapeutic medication.
Mm.
So it's great.
Yeah. I got to work. I worked in Australia for a year, so it was just kind of like free reign on glaucoma drugs. And then
Yeah,
coming back to New Zealand.
a bit more restrictive.
Yeah, we did a community care for glaucoma, so we could write out their existing script or refer them back and sort of change a medication if we wanted to. But yeah, it wasn't really. It was just like a brief time, and it was still referring
Yeah, they
back.
still have to be under care, right? Is that
Yeah,
right?
that's
They have to
right.
be under care of
Yeah,
a specialist. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, none of us were authorized. So how did you do your just sort of sit in time with ophthalmology to get that written off?
Yeah, that was during work time, thankfully. So I did it with a specialist in Christchurch. So
Yeah,
that was through Southern Eye Specialist.
yeah,
John Rawsham was the specialist. If he's listening, thank you.
I'd say.
Thank you for that time. So, yeah, no, it was good, a good learning curve. And then I learned that he was a corneal specialist too. So he like kind of explained what corneal surgeries are. And
Mm,
that was really quite eye opening. So,
yeah,
yeah,
no.
really appreciate that time.
And have you been doing much in the way of lenses? Having looked at the cornea from a corneal surgeon's perspective.
No, not really. I didn't get into that sort of stage. We did do a bit of orthokeratology, but I guess
Hmm.
I don't know if that's a specialty if you consider it myopia control. So obviously myopia is short-sightedness, and we know with short-sightedness at a school age, that could become really high prescription later on in life, and that can result in other eye diseases like a detached retina. So that's the back of the eye peeling off, or a
Glaucoma.
cataract, that's a lens, and glaucoma too. Yeah, glaucoma
Yeah.
is another risk with high degree of myopia. And then one form of control is drops that you take every day for 2 years, I think, atropine eye drops.
Yeah.
And the other treatment is a lens that you wear at night time and you go to sleep. And then you wake up, take the lenses out, and you can see clearly. So that's orthokeratology. Did a bit of that in some practices, but you need to have the patient demographic. So in
Yeah.
Christchurch, there's two major optometrists who like they pump out ortho-K because they see that type of population. I didn't really work at places that had that huge patient database, that patient database. But to be honest, with that type of this is where technology comes in. So usually it's a scan of the front of the eye, as you know, and that scan gets sent to a lab and they're able to design a lens based off that. So it used to be back in the day, like a huge fitting set. You know, you got a little chart, line up the chart. This is the lens you pick. You pick that lens from your trial set at work, then you put it on the patient. They try it out. They come back and they make the order, or you at least replace that lens. You order a replacement for that lens you've given them. But now
Mm.
it's the lab customize that lens just from maps. So, and then all you need to do as the optometrist is communicate, pick the right patient, make sure the map is really good, and they'll design the lens for you. So it's kind of outsource that whole job. So yeah,
But
it's amazing.
when I was in Australia, I think we
Shelf
did
in
still,
Australia.
yeah,
Yeah.
we still had a topographer for it, but um, at first we didn't use the iSpace technology, which is Jagrup Lalu, who I've had on this podcast.
Yeah.
He's behind iSpace,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Is
and
he the only optometrist, or have you had more on here?
and Tim Eagle. Actually, I've had
Tim Eagle, okay.
Jagrup, Tim Eagle, and Tim's dad, Mark Eagle. So we had a
Oh, great.
good yarn about behavioral optometry and just like schooling and education and the influence on kids and um,
Yeah, I want to delve into behavioral. Like it was never taught in school, and there's a lot of if you read like Ransco, they're kind of again. I feel like it's not very polite towards behavioral optometry, but something that it could be explored.
yeah, bro. So like that's legit, and yeah, um, we did Erlin. We used
Yeah,
not when I say we, Mark, and self field programs. That's an educational tool. There's another sort of external learning catch up sort of centre in Karaka in Auckland that uses Southfield as well, and it has really good results because there's with schooling there's sort of and it's becoming more and more apparent for some reason they're sort of being taught phonetically. I don't know how many 5-year-olds you've had in lately and trying to do the letter chart and they sound out the words.
yeah. No. I've had that. I've had that. Yeah, it's quite
And
interesting.
the letters, sorry, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. And like, yeah, here's the example of my girlfriend's daughter. She's 6, and she wrote a story, and she had the sounding of words there, but one of the few words that she had written correctly was the word "said," SAID, which is not phonetic at all. And I was like, well, that clearly shows that this phonetic stuff is a little bit off. And I was talking to Mum, she's like, I learned in syllables. And I was like, yeah, syllables, that makes more sense. But the sort of Southfield stuff works on eye movement and like peripheral integration, midline integration, and it just basically takes away that loading because you can see properly. And
Yeah.
if you can see properly, then you don't have this load of like effort to look at something. Then you can start learning. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and having been in a practice where it's being implemented, it was amazing to see the results of the kids. Yeah, and then
Exactly, man. And
same for Erlen syndrome. It's like you try and narrow the band in which somebody's working in by applying a colored filter, and they
because presumably some colors they're hyperactive towards the mind, towards the visual cortex. Is that right? Some
yeah,
colors
I don't know enough about the specifics of Erlen syndrome. I just have seen it in action, and even my insurance broker that I was talking to last week, he had a blue, like quite a light blue filter, but he was the same. He was telling me about his.
Okay, well, what do you say about the light blue filter? What are
Oh,
your thoughts?
not the blue filter in terms of blue light filter, as in a blue
Oh, yeah.
Erlen filter. Yeah, and he was telling me,
Okay.
yeah, he was telling me the experience that he's doing the test and he thought it was sort of mumbo jumbo and an illusion or something at first because they had this white page in front of him and all the words kind of looked haloed and moving, and then they put the blue filter over, and he was kind of like, "Well, what have you done?" And she's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Oh, the words have all come together and they're not moving anymore." And she's like, "Yeah, that's kind of what happens if you've got Erlen syndrome." And he was like,
Yeah.
"This is like it was just too hard to believe."
Oh wow! So he became a believer. He was a non-believer and a believer in one day. So
Yeah, well, it's something that you put something in place and it has an effect and changes your life, I guess. Not having Erlen, I don't know.
that'd be interesting to. I think it'd be hard to test because it involves like the person's.
Yeah,
It's like filling out a questionnaire, right? So it's difficult to test.
and that is the problem
for it.
Yeah, that's the problem with it, and that's why like it gets written off because it's like, well, you can't. There's no randomized controlled trial to say that this is an effective treatment, and you're like, yeah, you come up with the experiment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't, like you just said, you can't do the experiment. Yeah. What do you use a blue 400 filter? I see it's on your glasses.
I got it for a bargain. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did a blog about this. Did a bit of research because I was asked by a friend, like, is there any point in getting blue light filters? And I was just thinking, I actually don't know. And it's really split decision. So I guess you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the science says that there's no conclusive evidence that blue light glasses do anything. But some people, there's no harm getting them, I guess.
Okay, so I'd say
you go.
I'd say the eye strain, no conclusive evidence.
Yeah.
Dry eye,
Sleep.
and there's also this is where I would wear blue filters. If
Okay.
you're someone that works on a computer in the evening, no harm in having a blue filter on your glasses. There's also research that says if you like I have flux on my computer, so you're going to go yellow throughout this conversation. If you apply the filter to the actual screen, it's far more effective. And same for my iPhone. Like, shout out to Keith Mulligan. He taught me this. Can you see that? How it's all red?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have it on the accessibility shortcut, which is 3 clicks of the I guess it's called the home button or the on-off button.
This is for iOS users, right?
Yeah, iOS users.
Yeah.
You're an Androider.
I'm an Android person.
Ooh. Okay, so for iOS users, there is, if you're in your settings, there's a thing called accessibility, and the accessibility shortcut is 3 clicks of the home button. So I've set that accessibility shortcut to be color filter. Then also in your control settings and displays, you can go into color filter, and what I've done is I've put the color all the way to the max and hue all the way to the max, and so it's completely red, no other colors. So that serves two purposes. If you do end up using your phone at nighttime, all you're getting is a red light, which is it's a signal that it's getting towards bedtime. It's still a bright light, so it's still going to wake you a little bit, but it's saying to your brain that it's evening time. The other awesome thing about that red filter and just having red light is it makes your phone really, really boring, and you can't really see the colors that well.
Okay, so what I've done is at nighttime, it goes black and white. So that's where it's like, I don't want to use my phone anymore. So I have a problem with my phone at nighttime or just working. I used to be really good, Ryan. So I used to be, I go to bed at 9 o'clock or get ready for bed, 9 o'clock, start reading. This is my nighttime routine. Have a warm tea, get ready, get a Kindle out, read a book. But now I've sort of, I don't do that anymore. I'm usually on my computer till like maybe 11, 12 midnight. And then go to bed late. So it's kind of like, but then like I've sort of combat that with the phone, making it go black and white at night time, just to make it a bit boring to use the phone. But so
I've been using
like
using a Samsung J8 for the last fortnight. And I'm sure I didn't quite get in touch with the true usability of Samsung and Android. But yeah, I did like that feature that the night setting came on. I set it to about 8 o'clock, and then my screen went black and white. It was still quite bright though. I found myself.
Yeah, it's probably. I think you can't have the blue filter and the black and white at the same time. I think that's a problem. So it is quite like bright. And I think, and also, so sorry to shoot you in the foot, but with I think LEDs, even like if the light's really orange, you still get a little bit of blue light coming through.
Yeah.
And then that begs the question, right? Like how much blue light affects your melatonin in the brain? Like, and what actual wavelength,
Yeah.
What's the actual wavelength that affects it? How much? Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't think there's a standard. Like, how there's UV400 standard for your sunglasses.
Yeah.
Is there a standard for blue light? Like what wavelength needs to be cut off and what's the percentage that needs to be cut off? I don't think there's much. I don't think I couldn't find anything around that. Could you?
No.
There's no standard. So.
And that's the thing where it's like, are you working on screens at nighttime? Yes. Well, there's no harm. Also apply filters. No harm. Also dim your lights. Hey, if you're like super loaded, get Philips Hue throughout your house, so it's just this like real mellow as.
No, don't have to be super loaded. You can always, because I got my Philips Hue from Tradebee, so
yeah,
some people didn't want them, so I think they're great. So waking up in the morning, if you just have a light that turns on automatically, so not just the alarm, but if you have light, and if you can make that light blue light as well, so you sort of create your artificial sun there to wake up in the morning. That's what I've been doing, or used to be doing when I was in a really good routine.
Yeah, my mate Ryan Nicholson, that's how he wakes up, with a light, especially like in winter when he's trying, because he lives in Carterton and he has to go over to Wellington, and so he's waking up at 4, I think around about 4 o'clock, and so he has this big bright blue light come on to wake them up. Yeah, he I bet he's not using that at the moment. He's just got a wee baby, but that's what he's and a dog, so he's going for walks with the dog, but it's summer. But I said, enjoy that sunshine, like it's such an awesome realignment for your circadian rhythm to just get outside and just get like so many, what is it, like 100-fold lux from the sun.
Yeah,
even on
right.
Even on a dull day, like it's today at lunchtime, I was outside and it was a overcast day, but it was just like, give me some light. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that's what I've been sort of missing during lockdown, getting into like the routine of just staying indoors. So because a lot of stuff I do mainly I do a lot of work inside on a computer, so I can't really go outside. You can take a laptop outside, I guess, but and I go into the gym as well. So the gym's all indoors. So yeah.
Have you consistently been Olympic lifting, or are you just getting back into it?
Okay, yeah, I'm getting back into it. So I started weightlifting when I was in Auckland. I was 23, so I'm 28 now. No, 21. So I'm 28 now. So I did it for 6 years. Did it in Christchurch for a bit. Lockdown sort of killed it for me, and plus I was getting to I would train 5 times a day. I don't know why, because I was just an average Joe. Like I
didn't really 5 times a day.
Sorry, 5 times a week.
Yeah,
the correction. We did do double day trainings. I don't know why. So we do a training at 5 in the morning sometimes, then come back after work. It was crazy. And I don't know why. I would never recommend it for like a average lifter, but I had to try it. And then sort of getting back into it, because I think it is cool doing the movements. Like if you're able to snatch weight over the head, it's not like you should keep doing it if you can do it. Keep doing it. And I think getting into those positions, because the very main reason I did weightlifting for me, because I always cared about my health, was it was just a beautiful union between flexibility, strength, and I guess a little bit of stamina. So, and also get to train with people. That was a lot of fun. Coming to Palmerston North, there's no real club, like centralized club. Like in Christchurch, we had 2 clubs that there's even more now. So where people just go to a venue and they train together. So that's what I really enjoyed. But when you go to a commercial gym, you're kind of by yourself, and when you're struggling on a squat, everyone's like trying to get you going at a club level, but at a gym, everyone's like to themselves. So hopefully, I've just started going back in a gym. Hopefully I can find like a crew of people and see where it goes there.
I've I sort of, when I was in Australia, joined CrossFit for the first time.
And how's that experience?
Yeah, it was really, really good. The gym was fantastic, actually. So when I
So I
first
think the
joined.
main thing about CrossFit is about the team environment. It's more like not the actual thing you do or the brand, but it's more like just being with people and training together. That's kind of like what gets people going, I guess.
Exactly, yeah, and like
Yeah.
so that gym when I first showed up there was a guy that was in his last few months of training to go do seal fit, and one of the head coaches, she was in the process of going to the Torium Pro, and which was the qualification for Australasia to go to the games, and she ended up getting fourth at that, but for some reason, one of the top three had qualified elsewhere, so that meant that she also got to go to the games. And then, sort of in the process of that all being worked out, the guy had been to Silver and come back and said that was like one of the most hardest but craziest, awesomest things he'd ever done. 52 hours awake doing basically buds training. And so
Wow.
her and
Yeah,
another guy,
my,
Andrew Fraser,
my,
who's a
yeah.
policeman, and this other guy, Rixie, they're all mates. And so they signed up to do it. And then in the process of doing that, she got to go to the games, and so which was the week after doing Sealfit. So then they all trained for that. So she was sort of training half for Sealfit, half for the games, and these other two were training for Sealfit. And yeah, just like got better and better and better, and really good coaching. We had a guy there that had almost represented South Africa in weightlifting at the Commonwealth Games.
Wow.
The head coach, he was a little bit older, so he's very technical in what he coached. And yeah, another guy, my husband of the lady that went to the games, he was level 3 as well. So it was just like really high caliber coaching, lots of variation, and really good programming. So that was really good. And then I came back to Hawke's Bay, and the baby just kind of did hill fitness for going hunting. And then start of this year, I got back into CrossFit after finishing running, doing an ultra. So yeah.
An ultra, wow, nice. I think my first foray into buds training is not me doing it, but listening to it. I think it Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. That was
Oh yeah,
just
bro.
his experience of like, oh, it's crazy, man. Like I couldn't imagine like being at. See, they're the Philip Hughes. They just turned on right then.
Yeah,
In there.
yeah,
Can you see the background sort of a bit orange now? So
yeah.
those are the Phillips Hughes turning on. But yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's just crazy that his experience like of buds training, just the amount. I can't believe there are people at that level, you know? It's just
Mm.
here's me. And then like even the weightlifting too, like there's so many degrees of how awesome people are. Like there's people in your gym who are really good. Then
Yeah.
like people in the regional area, people like in the nation, then you got people, the international lifters, you know, it's just like all these levels. What's questionable, you know, with these international lifters, how they got that good. But yeah, it's just amazing all these levels of, like you say, with especially with CrossFit, like all
Yeah.
these levels of how amazing people are.
Is Dimitri
Inspiring.
Klokov on your radar?
Yeah, I think at the time, but I think he's retired, right? Retired weightlifter,
Yeah.
more business. So it's really funny how they switch from doing the athletes, because a lot of athletes have short careers
Yeah.
compared to us. we can work for the rest of our lives basically, but athletes short careers, but then having to convert that into like a business. It's quite
Yeah.
fascinating to watch and see. Because I guess a question I want to ask you is because you might be because you're well into your journey of podcasting is about that content creation. Because I was listening to a podcast you did. You were blogging back in 2016, and I started like I was doing a bit of a stock take on my blog, and I started about 2 years ago. How are you
Yeah.
finding that journey and that progression? Like that's all I've been thinking about is this content creation journey.
Yeah. No, and it's quite interesting. Like I started following the finance stuff again,
Yeah.
and then I saw that you'd blogged about a couple of topics, like what it was like at school, and like what it was like to always be compared to marks. And then you're in the real world, and like I said before, marks don't matter. It's about your
Mm.
like people skills and communication skills, and how you can discuss the condition and relay it to the layman and make sure that they're satisfied. And then at the same time, you're both producing a medical apparatus, but it's also it's a lifestyle thing that they wear on their face. It's also a fashion item. And then there's the retail side of it. And like, those are all like things that I'd explored, and then like reading back through that. And then that sort of prompted me to check back on what I'd written. And I was like, oh yeah, that was how I felt after working for 2 years. Like what the heck do you even do now? Like, what's my new metric? What's my new mountain to climb? And yeah,
it's a snapshot in life, right? Like I think my first ever blog post was about starting a blog. I got to stick to it, and like I'm happy I have. So
yeah.
And like so with the demographic of the viewers, are they what sort of age? Is it young
Yeah,
professionals or like?
Yeah, it's mostly male. It's about
Yeah.
it's crept under 80% now, but it was 80% for a while there.
Yeah.
And it's sort of 24 to 45, and the demographics do go 18 to 24. So that wide.
That's like the 18-year-olds start a blog or like just journal or something. Just get those memories back, because I really wish I could just go back and like, what was I thinking about? Like, what was my crisis back then?
Yeah, yeah, and that's kind of like the hard thing. Like, is it all about age and stage? And so, like for me, I finished uni at 25. There's arguments that your frontal cortex gets connected at 25, and so like,
mine's still going, bro. So
yeah, and so like, was that just it? That was just the age and stage, and like, leaving uni with 96k student loan, $2,000 overdrawn, still wanting to be a rugby player.
Oh, good.
We're back. Technical difficulties. That's a real fun learning curve about content creation, mate. Technical difficulties.
Yeah. I mean, it's painful when it happens. So the worst thing is like you're doing a video and you didn't hit record. So, or things that could go wrong is like corrupt your I don't know, your SD card gets corrupt.
Yeah,
memory card gets corrupt, or like something breaks. It could happen, man. So
yeah, well, that was like
yeah.
What's
your worst experience?
Oh, so the not recording the video thing. Like I'm when it comes to video recording, even just for like ones when I do it in person, I'm still just using the laptop camera and just running iPhoto. Yep. But its default setting is taking a picture. So I've taken 2 photos once. That was good. And yeah, on Saturday I had the digital interface there, and we plugged one of the mics in. And it was off the first channel as well, so it was like that should be the one that works. But anyway, I had one of the settings on something else instead of mic, and so it wasn't picking up the first channel. But for some reason, it picked up when we changed microphones. It still picked up that one. So I don't know what the difference was, but yeah, I was glad that when I plugged it in today and had to play around, that my microphone was still working because it's brand new. So I was like, well, not brand new, but yeah, like got it at the start of the year, so I was quite glad that didn't have to call the people I got that from and be like, why is it not working? Yeah.
I mean, it must be painful. Have you ever done ever had a podcast where you've done the podcast but not actually recorded anything, like no audio?
Not yet.
Has it happened yet?
Not yet.
It's bound to happen, right? It's a numbers game. If it's a 1% error,
I think like the audio is the thing that I prioritize. It's the video stuff that like this USB mic. I sort of, because it's not off a driver. When we're doing in Zoom, it's recording in the Zoom program. But yeah, this one time when I tried to do it live using the USB mic. Then because it's not on a driver, and the flicker rate for the camera on the laptop's not fast enough, the audio in the video is just so out of sync. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's the worst.
Oh yeah. So that actually, no, you're right. That was a time when the audio in the video wasn't there, but that was all right because it would have been out of sync anyway. But so I had to play the game of like getting my recorded audio and trying to put it over top of the video, and then it's out of sync, and it was just not fun. So I've played that game a few times. But the good thing about my audio interface is that goes into an actual audio driver, so the video audio comes from the driver. So yeah, they're synced up, which is quite nice. But yeah, you're using OBS. That's something I need to. Well, get some cameras and then
cameras. And then combine everything together.
Yeah. So
OBS is free software too. It's free software, open source broadcasting software. Yeah, so it's free software, and I guess you can marry up multiple cameras. I think you might need like a powerful, quite a powerful PC just to run that much. You need something with juice to like run that much data into your
Yeah.
into your system. But yeah, well, it'll be up in production quality, and you can have like, I don't know, producer switching cameras. Is that kind of like the aim, or
Yeah, so that's what like with a couple of guys, the human now, Akash, what's his last name? Kuma, and Will Fleming that runs Please Blow My Mind. We've sort of been talking about
yeah,
how there must be a button that you can just kind of like flick, have in your hand and just like flick between cameras. But yeah, it'd be awesome to have Jamie Vernon and just don't have to worry about all this stuff. He's just sitting there with his headphones on and his 3 screens and all his interfaces and his gain functions and just having everything crisp. Yeah.
yeah, and plus, like someone's checking the audio like live, so you're not going to miss anything. There's no errors going to be made. So
yeah, and
yeah,
if you need to know something, you can bring it up on Google. That'd be handy as.
yeah.
What sort of started first? Was it YouTubing or like writing the blog and then publishing it to Optics Magazine? Like I've written 2 for My Vision.
Yeah,
It's quite a fun process as well to like do some research, put something into a page, submit it to an editor, have them come back, like match it up.
Yeah, have it come back to you. Feel kind of pro, right?
Yeah.
So this is a great and this is a great question. So I'm actually doing. So I'm gonna give you a long answer. So
Good.
I'm doing this course. It's called Part-Time YouTuber Academy. It's written by a guy called Ali Abdal. He's a guy in the UK. He's a YouTuber in the UK. Because what fascinates me, it's not like the fame and money of being a YouTuber. It's just like creating something for an audience and getting it out there. And then we're in the stage. So I've got some jargon to introduce you to everyone. So we've got, the Web 1.0, Web 2.0, and Web 3.0. So Web 1.0 is like the read. So the company makes a website, you can read it. That's like everyone has access to the internet. And I believe most people are at the Web 1.0 stage. We're all consuming content, apart from you, Ryan, because you're making stuff.
Yeah.
So that moves on to the next stage, which is Web 2.0. That's read write. So that's like when YouTube creates a platform, people make stuff for that platform and people consume that platform. So it's people create and they consume, rather than like a big business making everything for the masses. I guess Web 3.0 is you get to own the internet. So instead of the platform owning your content, because in theory, like when a YouTuber puts his video up, or when you write a blog, it's someone else hosting that server, or Google is like if you write a blog and someone searches up your blog, Google basically has reign of whatever gets searched.
And that's where you got try and hack is the Google search words.
It's the SEO, yeah. So you got Web 3.0, which is like you get to own the internet. I haven't figured that out, but I think we should be coming into the Web 2.0 stage. That's like you're creating. So you want to shift from a consumer to a creator. That's what I'm trying to do with the YouTube. But anyway, coming back to doing this course, like we're given homework assignments. So one homework assignment is I've got to make a YouTube video about why I'm doing YouTube. And I've been sort of scripting it today. And that made me think about my entire journey, like doing a stock take on my my blog, doing these articles. And now to answer the question, what really came first was, I think it was writing something on the blog. That was really it. And then there's a guy, I think his name is Alan Sachs.
Yeah, yeah, that's who inspired me as well.
yeah. I asked him, like, because he writes so much stuff. And he said to me, so the first thing you do, just contact Leslie at NZ Optics and just say you're keen to write. And I think as optometrists, we're actually quite niche. Like there's actually not a lot of people who can write about our stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like there's not a lot of people and they're always looking for writers. So I just sent some of my stuff to Leslie and she said most of it's unfocused. That's fine. Like I want feedback because at the end of the day, I'm just putting the stuff out to get that feedback because I want to improve the craft of writing or creating. So yeah, and then I got in touch with Leslie. I did an article about cannabis and glaucoma. That was really fun, like doing the research.
I like that, man.
I'm hoping thank you. So it was really fun. And I worked with I think guy in Dan who's in Ireland. He's the co-editor for NZ Optics, and he it's really good. Like you have your thoughts, and then he's able to make the wording better, but still maintain the same ideas. It's a real big talent. And that was really good. That was a demo, so it wasn't a paid job. Because at the end of the day, you want to make money. It's not making. It's not to become rich, but it's fun to make money off your
time
or pursuit of your time. Yeah. But at the end of the day, number one thing, it's fun doing this stuff. And then with the second article was a paid gig. So that was about optometry and AI, and that was something I was always interested in. Just seeing Isan's posts about his startup, Toku Eyes, which is really cool to see. And I was able to write an article sort of touching on what he does. So it's kind of cool. And hopefully it educates people as well at the same time. But the whole process of research to writing to getting it out there, it's cool. It's fun. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's good talking to you in this episode, because in that last episode that I recorded on Saturday, we were talking about sort of metaverse and AI and stuff, and I was saying, well, in optometry, we've got this AI already. Or like before it came to diabetic retinopathy, we had AI in the fact that you say, for example, scan a nerve and it gives you an age match normal. It puts the person's data set in amongst a sample data set, and it gives you sort of its margin of error, and that helps inform you whether or not this person has glaucoma. Now, there's still other things that you've got to factor in, and then you can start to measure that thing over time and create a trend, get 3 measurements over time, and you've got a trend, and is this person losing nerve faster than what they should be, or are they actually staying stable, and that's just the shape of their nerve, and they don't fall within that normal. So that's like a bit of fun. That's basic AI. And then, like say, you got this machine learned photo recognition software that does better than the best graders that there are. And as someone that spent last Friday grading 39 photos, I'm like, heck yeah. And it's quite interesting. You brought up Toku Eyes, and you brought up the Aussie guys. The company I work for in Aussie actually
Intelligence.
Yeah, they actually own that software. So I got to hear about that while I was over there, and I was like, well, that sounds bloody good. Yeah, and but it's interesting in your YouTube video you talk about like the actual process of grading the image is good, but then the education side of it needs that human touch, and like. I sort of have, for a lot of, if it's not too busy, and this is the rough side of it, because I've got to also grade the photo, you end up very busy. But say I could see all those 40 people with 10 minutes for the whole day, I'd be able to do a massive educational set that's outside of their diabetic nurse, outside of their GP who's prescribing their medications. Hopefully they're having a nutritionist as well, but I think that's pretty rare. And so it's just like third or fourth voice to talk to them about their diabetes under the principle that, hey, we don't want you to go blind, and hey, if you're on the track for going blind, we want to reverse this. But it just kind of is another landing point to say, am I doing things well? Am I not doing things well? If I've got these numbers, for example, HbA1c, which barely anyone seems to know about, what they actually mean for me, and I can see the eye, I can see the blood vessel, I can see the nerves, and I can see if mine aren't that good. And if I know my HbA1c, I know kind of where along the spectrum I am of risk, and so I can improve that risk and reduce the likelihood of going blind. I can heal things, or and it just kind of gives them some motivation for doing better. And especially when it's a higher grade, we'll often get someone back in 6 months and say, over these 6 months, I want you to really work hard on reducing medications, reducing blood sugars. I know they might not get to reducing medications in that time, but reducing blood sugars so that you're in a position to potentially reduce medications. So it's quite a cool tool. If you had like the straight away the bing of, hey, there's the grade, now use your time as a optometrist and health professional to discuss diabetes in relation to the eye, and the eye in relation to diabetes.
That's absolutely right, Ryan. I think I used to work in low vision too up in Canterbury District Health Board. That was a good experience, because I had a really great mentor, John Veal, and he told me, he said to me, like, a lot of people we see here, like they don't know what's going on with their eyes. Like the top minds are seeing them obviously at the hospital, but it's just I think the eye department's the second busiest, probably the second busiest, and like not as well staffed area, and then department. So next to emergency department, the second busiest is the eye department, and then a lot of people don't know what's going on with their eyes. And then at low vision, I had 1 hour with people. I had about half an hour to an hour with people to just explain what's going on. So,
Mm.
like for example, macular degeneration doesn't mean you're going to lose your vision completely. You lose your central vision, and we've got to work with what we have, like your peripheral vision, but you're not going to lose your eyesight completely. And a lot of people think that I'm going to go blind, so there's no hope. And then,
Mm. Mm.
but what we're trying to do is maintain that hope. And a lot of people, when they for low vision, like a misconception is you want to see these people when they're really bad vision, like 624, which is worse, well worse than driving standard. But
Two
we
times,
actually want to see them. Yeah, we should want to see them just below. Just they're still driving, but they've got this early signs of macular degeneration, just so they know there's actually next steps. It's not just your vision's gone, because once your vision's gone, the mood's not there, and if you have that low mood, then it's really hard to offer different techniques like a CCTV or a magnifier or other techniques to live your normal life, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to maintain that same level of life. You can't drive, but you still want to maintain that same level of enjoyment, entertainment with less vision. So that's kind of like the aim of low vision. But then a lot of people don't know what's going on with their eyes. And John Veal just said this job is incredibly simple. You just got to communicate with the person and make sure they understand what they've got. So that's kind of like that really flicked the switch for me.
Yeah,
in terms of because I didn't know. I thought because I was coming to the state before I started the job, I really thought like as optometrists we didn't know much compared to like let's say an ophthalmologist. Like they would know so much more about the eye. We're just a second-rate citizen. That's how it felt. But it's just I think that the two jobs they're just different. They're not really comparable, so they're just different.
Yeah, hard out. The guy that I've taken over from in Tokoroa, he was also high up there, Rodney's Needle, if you came across him.
No.
So he's pretty high up. Well, he's retired now, but was pretty high up there in low vision treatment and awareness. And again, we know worked for Patterson Byrne 3 years ago. He taught me how like valuable an AMSLIC grid is, and so he'd monocular map the person's AMSLIC grid. So it's a grid pattern with a dot in the middle, and the person tries to fixate on the dot, and then you can sort of map out the areas of vision and no vision. So macular degeneration is where you have an accumulation of waste product beneath the retina, and then because it's toxic, it damages the photoreceptors, which are the cells that react to light and begin the message for vision. And at the macula, they're tightly packed together, so it's like a high pixel camera. And if you begin to lose photoreceptors, then you're basically reducing the amount of pixels that you can see. So the sharpness of your vision degrades because you no longer have the same concentration of photoreceptors there. And
glasses don't make it better. That's
that's the other thing. It doesn't. You despite focusing the image on the retina, you don't have the sample rate. Again, back to flicker rate, sample rate at the macula to give sharp vision. So and then you can end up with a thing called geographic, so a large area of atrophy, loss of these receptors. So you basically end up with a hole in your central vision. And so Rodney would map out this hole, and so then people can start to be aware of where they have vision. And like you said,
that's quite a lot. It's like 90% of the vision's still there. It's just the most important part isn't.
Yeah. And it's like you brought up that 624. It's kind of like, how big is that? Probably 0.3 of a mil, 300 microns wide. And you go from having potentially 6/6 20/20 vision to say 0.1 of a micron, you might be at 612. 0.2 of a micron, 624, and then by the time you get outside the fovea, you're at 636, 660. Like, 6 times the size to 10 times the size of a 20/20 letter. That's how we work as optometrists. That's what all those numbers mean. It's just like the size that you can distinguish is what acuity is.
The bigger the bottom number, the worse your vision is, basically. The bigger the denominator, the worse the vision,
Yeah. And it's funny that you talked about, like, the human side and macular degeneration, because the first article I wrote, maybe I've written 3 articles for my vision. I have, so
nice.
The first couple of articles I wrote were kind of about nutrition and macular degeneration, and it's a really good way of sort of looking at a couple of systems, like looking at neural health and associations with Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. It's a good way of looking at immune health and sort of your inflammation levels and your sort of turnover of information, and then obviously it's the vision the retina. And like you said, it's really good to see someone with macular degeneration when their vision's still good, because hopefully you can prevent it from progressing. And so talking about consumption of fish, talking about consumption of green leafy vegetables, talking about eggs, talking about raw nuts, and avoiding processed seed oils. And like that's where it's like we're talking about the eye here and the turnover of the retina, and how we want this sort of immune layer that wraps around the retina, the pigmented layer, to turn over the retina, but we also want it to resolve that waste and get rid of it. And that's kind of like your immune system. You want your body to fight stuff, but you don't want it to be stagnant and have this like stale tissue. And the same with like cardiovascular disease. You want, like, if you have a insult, well, you don't want the insult to your vascular layer in the first place, but if you do have an insult to your vascular layer, you want that to heal. You don't want a plaque to form which will rupture and cause a heart attack. It's all like similar things. And it's funny
I never thought about it that way. It's actually quite a lot. Like they say your general health is your eyes are the eyes are the
window to the soul.
Window to the soul. Yeah. Actually is true. So I mean, it's the only organ you can look into without having to cut open. So, and a lot of things, a lot of the eyes are quite similar. I think Ben LaHood said all his job is making holes. That's it. All in medicine is making holes. That's what he was saying about his work.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything's all the same. So the same but different.
Yeah. Well, like my old flatmate, he was a renal surgeon, and it's like making the holes bigger, checking the plumbing, stenting femoral arteries and ureters. It's good times. When you're looking at the AI stuff, how much was there around looking for neurodegeneration, like amyloid plaques and things like that? Has that moved much in our ability to take a photo or take an image and kind of give an indication for Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, or is it still just a pipe dream at this stage?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not well versed. I think this is oculomics is the kind of field, like the term oculomics. So it's a mash between two words, ocular, which is the eye, and then something else, systemic, something doing systemics. So oculomics.
Yeah.
I think looking into it, it's more because like we can't determine, like obviously with diabetes, we know that there's a hemorrhage there, therefore there's signs there, right? But correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, you probably know more, but like with neural networks, it's looking at things that not even we can see. So for one example is not really answering your question, but looking at smoking. Like, for example, like if you looked at an eye, could you tell, if you look at a retinal photo, could you tell it's a smoker? You probably could, Ryan, but most people couldn't.
Nah.
And AI is able to detect like this person is a smoker. Same with age, what the age of the person is based on the retinal image. I guess you could because of the like how shiny the photo is essentially.
Yeah.
But so it can determine age, if you're a smoker, and the sex based on the retinal image. That's how powerful a neural network is. So a neural network is just a form of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And I presume it's doing the similar thing in with oculomics, looking at neurodegenerative diseases based on like the photo that humans can't detect. So it's really getting crazy. Then it starts to get to a stage where we can't explain what's going on. Like a lot of tests, but I guess a lot of tests you could say that, for example, glaucoma, we look at pressure there. We've got hypotheses that for the cause of glaucoma, but we're not entirely sure certainly, but we've got a treatment for glaucoma, and that's reducing eye pressure. So you could use that same argument for looking at oculomics, because even though we can't really tell, we know it works by magic. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, bro. But like it is quite funny how people, you blow the puff of air in their eye, or you put the probe on their eye, and they're like, "Oh, it's testing for glaucoma," and you kind of go, "Sort of." It's testing for eye. It's testing for eye pressure. It's like you've got eye pressure.
What we use to determine. Glaucoma is multifactorial. So and then if you explain it to people, they're like, "Well, okay, it's actually more than what I expect." When people. And when people come in, like they just want a glaucoma check. They just want the eye pressure test and nothing else. That's kind of not you need to have the full exam, the duty of care, and
And I always try to communicate it as in that glaucoma is a loss of nerves over time. And
Yeah.
so even one retinal photo of the optic nerve head, one visual field, one OCT, one eye pressure check, especially individually, they're pretty useless. Together, they can give you a risk profile in which you determine the frequency at which you want to see someone, but you can't diagnose glaucoma on one point. And even like you'll get people that are seeing the ophthalmologist, then they'll be seeing the ophthalmologist under suspect for like the last 5 to 10 years, and they still are unsure whether it's glaucoma. And especially like we're saying, lowering eye pressure, they might have an eye pressure of 13, but they've still got these suspicious nerves that appear to be losing nerve faster than normal, but
Yeah.
they're not being treated, but essentially they've got glaucoma. And yeah, again, the whole body thing, like, does this person just have sleep apnea? Does this person just,
Yeah.
out of control hypertension? And again, is that sleep apnea? Yeah, it's really buzzy. Like,
Yeah,
always,
or other common things, part of the band, woodwind, or doing yoga, lots of
yeah,
handstands.
lots of handstands. Yeah, I've got to be careful. We've got glaucoma on both sides.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's better watch it.
Yeah, bro. It's funny you're saying about Ryan, you'll be able to pick up smoking, and it's always good to you do a lot of profiling of your patients, and you sort of listen to their voice. You sort of look at their skin, look at their lips, especially if they got a moustache. That's a dead giveaway. If it's yellow, you know that they're a smoker. But you've always got to try and find the spot to ask them if they're a smoker, and sometimes it's just a matter of like doing the slit lamp, which is the microscope, and smelling it on them, and then sort of pulling the slit lamp away and be like, so what are you a smoker? Or so what do you smoke? And they'll be like, oh, can you tell that from the eyes? And you're like, oh, sort of. You've got like cataracts that are a little further along than I'd expect, but I can just smell it on you. The amount of people that have a nervous fag before they come into the optometrist is outrageous.
Yeah, it must be a stressful situation, I guess I'm the same, when I get a hearing check, or when I got my hearing check, I was just worried that something will come up, like I'm going to have some sort of form of hearing loss, or it is stressful when you go to the dentist and you just never know.
Yeah.
Something going on. So
how do you feel about laser surgery? Are you an eligible patient?
Me, I'm hyperopic, so I'm +1, Ryan.
Yeah.
I wear glasses for show, but I actually I'm symptomatic for the computer, so I do get a bit of blurriness when I'm reading. So I do like wearing glasses for up close work. My thoughts on LASIK, I think it's just like, if the patient wants it, then I'm not going to say no, and then I'd recommend it as well. If they're showing stability and they want to have an alternative to glasses or contacts. I always push ortho okay though.
Yeah.
But what about you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have had it. So
Okay. What was your prescription before you had LASIK?
yeah, I was
Or laser correction?
175. Yeah, and I was
Okay.
playing rugby at the time. I'd also played
Did you
water polo.
PRK?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So
Yeah, okay.
what that means is instead of LASIK or SMILE, where they create an incision of the surface cells, and LASIK, they create like a flap that they fold back and laser down what's called the stroma, the sort of collagen structure of the eye, or SMILE, where they leave it there but they make a small slice, which do you know how they pull it out? Was it just pulverized?
I think they kind of slit, don't they? They take a little bit out, like they don't make a flap. They kind of slit and they kind of suck it out. I don't know,
Yeah.
actually.
They get rid of some cornea anyway, and they flattens
Yeah.
down.
Has to go somewhere, right?
Yeah, it takes 20 seconds apparently,
Yeah.
and you can see 20,
Yeah.
20 in 20 seconds. Yeah. So for me, basically, I think Dr. Trevor Gray basically put a sponge on my cornea and wiped all the surface cells off, kind of like skin cells.
Man.
So it's basically like
Yeah.
grazing my eye, and then lasered it down. So grazed my eye, pulverized my eye with lasers, and then slapped a bandage contact lens on top. Gave me some sleeping pills for the next couple of days, and I went out for lunch on the third day, and I have major sympathy for people that come in with a corneal abrasion and their sunglasses on, because holy
Yeah.
cow, it was hard work. But yeah, by the
How long was the recovery? Was it 4 weeks?
Yeah. So, but by Saturday, by Friday, Trevor was like, "Oh, yeah, you're legal to drive now." And I had a rugby semi-final on that Saturday. Played one of the greatest games of my life that day at about 6:12 vision, and then went from Cornwall Park out to eastern suburbs. So that was kind of through the streets, and then came back to Arch Hill via the Western Motorway, and that was the sketchiest.
Oh, were you still at uni at the time?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it was in my last year, so yeah, that was the sketchiest time of my life. And when I'm showing people the driving standard, like that's 6:12, and they're like, "Oh my god, that's so blurry." I'm like, "Yeah, sketchy." Eh? I was like, I know what it's like to drive with that. It's scary.
Yeah, I guess we take it for granted, don't we? Vision is quite until it's gone. It's like it's taken for granted. So.
And what's worse with that, like that's 6:12 with a like young retina and a clear lens. I'd hate to be 6:12 with like lens opacities that are scattering light everywhere, and you just like glare and horribleness.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. Like for the job, it's difficult to. This is something I found quite difficult to talk about. Is like a lot of conditions I can't experience. I don't know what people are going through. And when you talk about like one basic example is talking about progressives. I've never had progressives in my life. You know, I'm talking about it like almost at an expert level. So
yeah.
How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that kind of? Like, I can't really. I've studied it, but I've never experienced it.
Yeah, our dispensing optician. She's not a dispensing optician. She's doing our dispensing. She's 19, slightly myopic, a little bit of astigmatism, and when I came in, I'm quite keen on occupational lenses for people that are kind of your script, you know, a little bit long-sighted, but are over 45, or more over 50, and so that they can have that sort of good near magnification, but still use their computer and still sort of walk around the office, be in a meeting and that sort of stuff, have a conversation, and it kind of like blew her away. And I said to her, I was like, I reckon I need to put cyclopedia in your eyes so you know what it's like to not have any near focus, and I'll give you a pair of ready readers to use for the day, and you can see how annoying that is. And yeah, all the other ladies that work at work, they're all well and truly presbyopic. They're just laughing and like, just to get an idea of how annoying life. That was like the good thing about being at uni and just like knocking out our accommodation all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I remember doing. Yeah, that's quite. I remember this one day I had to use like can't remember. Christine Hammond, was she around when you were at university? Yeah. So Christine, like, she had like a collection of occupational lenses. I had to use them for the rest of the day. So just to even see in the distance, like even that was like too hard to like focus in the distance. At +1. Yeah. So
it was you were saying about how like that near fatigue. I ended up losing about 0.5 of myopia for a while there, and I think it was just all stress induced, because ironically enough, that was one of the benefits of lockdown for me, as I managed to get my minus 0.5 back. But yeah, there'll be some days, especially like middle of winter, dark room, you've come in the dark, you go home in the dark, and you've been sitting on your computer all day and your phone all day, and then you walk out into the main dispensing area, which is a bit more open, and you're just like, oh man, everything's so blurry. Yeah, like at my work, we can see a couple of service stations down the road, and you can't see the price of fuel, and you're like, oh man,
wow.
I'm stressed, tired, and my eyes are overactive, and currently I'm seeing short-sighted, but I know that I'm not. But yeah.
Do you think seasonal affective disorder that affects optometrists at all? Like, do you think, because winter time, we're in a dark room, we're there in the morning, it's dark. You work the whole day, you go home and it's dark. Do you think it's a big issue for optometrists or not really?
I often tell my patients we do the most ironic job in the world. Like, we're like constantly asking people, is it blurry, when they're there to come and see. We like shine bright lights in their eyes. We, as we were just talking about, knock out their accommodation, make their pupils really big, and tell them to get outside and get plenty of sunshine. But yet there's us sitting in a dark room. It's the most ironic job in the world. And like Kent Napier, he has total vision in Hamilton East, and he has a window that he has sliders in front of. It's the greatest practice in the country, and I don't know why there's not more like that. Like, I'd love to open a window and show the person like, hey, that's what you can see. But no, you got to like walk them out into the office and be like, oh, look down the road.
Yeah, or just a letter chart, which is a bit unnatural. Yeah, so I think
Yeah,
that's actually a good. I might start doing that actually. You can get, well, I can guess you get them to wear the trial lens, and then they can walk around the practice and sort of
yeah,
like see. Because it actually is I don't know about you, Ryan, like, but for me, because we do it nearly every day, it just loses its that shine. This like for someone who comes in, they come in like once every 2 years, or it's their first ever time, and it's like a whole new experience for them. You know, it's like buying a house for the first time, or
yeah,
I don't know, things like going to the cafe for the first time. Like for us, it's just so like, oh, it happens. It's like on repeat, you know.
yeah.
And then like for the person, they come into the room, it's like this is their first time. They put the glasses on, like it's their first time seeing. Or yeah, I lose touch of that sometimes. I've got one thing, one story that I want to share with you.
Yeah, bro.
Last week, my dog he got into a really bad injury, so it was pretty bad. Like he split his skin. So
Yeah.
it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty. He's a wee greyhound as well. He's an ex-racer. And yeah, took him to the vet, and they just had like the best care ever. It was like it was at the Massey vet. One of the best care. Like it was just.
Like for
I
the
can imagine.
students.
Oh no. So I don't know. They've got an ICU there, like an emergency, but there weren't any students there at the time. I
Yeah.
don't know what I think the students are for the more general care,
Hmm.
but then they've got emergency like 24 hours, and like it was just amazing because I think I don't know, like if you work at a 24-hour practice, like it's going to be busy, you're going to be like stressed, overworked, but then they were absolutely like it was just class, absolute class going there, you know, just
It's funny
amazing.
you bringing up vets. We had the local vet call us the other day and ask for a bunch of bandaged contact lenses, and
Oh
like
yeah.
I had a whole bunch of point fives, point two fives, and plus and
Yeah.
minus in stock. So I said, yeah, you know, you can have these. And he's going to buy like 60 lenses off us, but it turned out that it was our receptionist's mum's dog that had a corneal abrasion. He was like, that worked really well. It's like, yeah, it's funny how like the two combined.
Yeah, that's quite it's cute because I think so for like they'll use the exact same drops, right? Like for example,
Yeah,
if they've got a conjunctivitis, it's the exact same drop, but it just costs more because no Pharmac subsidy.
yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah, I
fun.
think if you yeah, sorry, you go,
Hey,
you go.
yeah, I was going to talk about something different. So you go.
I think I remember seeing a post somewhere. I think someone came and they tried faking conjunctivitis, just so they can get Clarissa for their dog,
Right.
to save money. So
$4 instead of 40. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, well, that's like currently the old ivermectin thing, isn't it? You know, the story is that people were going to the vet and getting ivermectin. It was funny you brought up
yeah,
the seasonally affected was it seasonal affective
disorder.
depression disorder? Yeah,
Yeah,
and like as part of my graduate program with Specsavers, in the first year we did the disc analysis, and they sort of like put up, you know, what a normal optometrist disc analysis profile would look like, and everyone else in the room had that same profile, and mine was the complete opposite. And I was like, oh, I'm not inverted commas normal optometrist. And then, well, like when I like think about you know, generalized persona of an optometrist, it is a very like agreeable, quiet, like soft spoken person. And
oh, okay, yeah.
yeah, and I wonder if that like being locked in a dark room all day like exacerbates that.
Yeah,
And like maybe that's why the persona is like maybe this is we're onto something in that like optometrists need to get outside more. But then like plenty of them
yeah,
do like go hiking, and like heaps of them are into photography.
yeah.
I know Richard Lobb down in Chicago, not only is into photography but he's into astrology as well. Although that's in the dark, but yeah, like you know,
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see a movie or a sitcom
yeah,
involving optometrists, or a movie involving an optometrist. That'd be really cool because you just see what lawyers, doctors, engineers. You know, like the main job should be. It's mainly those, right? Or detective. Like they're the cool jobs Hollywood can make a movie from, but could they make a movie about an optometrist?
yeah. Curb Your Enthusiasm. You put that up the other day.
Yeah, that's the only piece of like pop, is it pop, you know, whatever. Because I want to make a video on like, reacting to stuff in movies.
So you need to look
'cause,
up Michael McIntyre. So
yeah,
that same bit that they did in Curb Your Enthusiasm is
yeah,
Michael McIntyre has as a comedy sketch. So like in Curb Your Enthusiasm, they did it
yeah,
so well. Like the one
yeah,
and two did look the same, and as we both talked about on LinkedIn, the joke is that there's never any ties in optometry. And it's like no, that's the end. That's
yeah.
what we're
That's the end.
wanting.
That's what we want. We want that.
Yeah, it's like one, two, or
Yeah,
is it the same? And they're
yeah.
like, oh, yeah, it's pretty similar. And you're like, oh, great. And they're like, what the
Let's move
heck are
on.
you? What the heck are you doing? Yeah, you're like, I'm so sorry. This is so confusing, but like, yeah, just
Yeah,
compare the two. It's just all relative, and because I don't know, maybe we explain that you're doing a thing called bracketing. So you're going one way too far and the other way too far, and so if you're in the right place, that means that each way is equal distance away from the center, and so the center is the perfect spot. But if you're leaning towards one way or the other, then we move that lens in favor of the one selected. So that's what's happening, and it's funny how people like reckon that I can guess and get the right one. You're like, that's not how this works. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, Michael McIntyre is
Yeah.
the same thing, and he's like, one or two, gets all confused. So there's another video that you'll be able to do a reaction to, bro.
The deconstruction. Yeah, I think there's another video where I think it stars Brad Pitt. It's about something about coward Jesse James.
Yeah.
I can't remember the title of the movie. I think at the very beginning he's got they say he's got dry eye at the beginning of the movie. That's about it.
Oh, do you remember Charles McGee? Charles McGee in first year,
Yeah,
he showed a video. I think it's like the first movie that Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise were in, and
yeah,
Nicole Kidman does ophthalmoscopy, so this little one-eyed microscope, but
yeah.
she goes nose to nose, and they end up kissing, of course. Um, and yeah,
Classic.
Charles was like, always go the same eye, then you end up with this problem. There's also a really good Aussie musical comedian guy. What's his name? It is Tom Cardy. And yeah, so he has a song, and it's like, I'll play it for you. And so in the video, he's got one dilated eye and one normal eye, and that's why he thinks he looks like a bad guy.
uh, that's good. There's another episode in Friends where I think Rachel's getting an eye test and she doesn't like the puff of air test. That's one. Yeah, so I'm collecting a few things. So yeah.
Do you know the story behind the puff of air? What it was made for?
No. So what was the story?
Yeah, so this came out because of during COVID, RANZCO, what are they? Royal Australian New Zealand College of Ophthalmologists. So the eye doctors, they tell us what to do quite a lot. They came out with the fact that during COVID you shouldn't do NCT because you might get viral dispersal.
Yeah. Heard about this. Yeah.
Because at the early days they sort of thought that conjunctivitis was going to be a major, or viral conjunctivitis, which is quite a watery response to a viral load in your conjunctiva, the jelly in your eye. It gets really watery, and so if you're puffing air into the eye, that those tears are going to splatter, and you might create spread of COVID. And of course, there was lots of concern of surface contamination early on, which is still somewhat true in the short term. But yeah, so the idea was that you'd be splattering this, even though it'd be on the machine, but there might be a little bit of viral particle on the puffer, and then so the next person gets puffed, and it flings the viral particle into their eye, and then so they end up with a COVID-related conjunctivitis. Anyway, Mark Eagle was bringing up the fact that the reason why they started doing NCT, non-contact tonometry, measuring the eye pressure, was in the AIDS epidemic. And so he's like, so this is like the whole purpose that this thing was created for was for a virus.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the story behind NCT, is that it was for the AIDS epidemic. Yeah,
Well, I didn't know that, but that's quite ironic, could
yeah.
say.
But then at the same time, that disinfecting of the probe is, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, how do you disinfect your probe?
Um,
Or do you do much contact tonometry, or do you do
I don't know if
quite
I have
severe?
a Goldman at the practice I'm in, but I have a Perkins. So
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's the same situation I had. I didn't know if I had a Goldman, but
yeah,
I was told if you do NCT, if you keep consistent, if you use the same testing, it's fine. Even
yeah,
though it's not gold standard, but it's fine. But yeah, yeah. Do you use how do you disinfect your probe?
just with alcohol.
Alcohol, okay.
Yeah. Yourself, do you have one of those kits?
Well, yeah, I think the recommendation is I think it's a hydrogen peroxide.
Peroxide, yeah.
Yeah, peroxide for 5 minutes, or bleach, even like a dilution of bleach.
Mm.
And then there was like this little pumper Tristal. It's like a combination of two chemicals that like come together and that really like does a number on the probe, getting
On
rid of
the
bacteria and virus. Yeah,
on the
but not
nasties.
prions. Yeah, all the
Yes.
nasties.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, have you heard Joe Rogan talk about CWD?
No, 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 no.
Speaking of prions, like that, he talks about how they like put the metal instruments that they've done the dissection of the brains in, and the
Yeah.
autoclave in it like 5 times, and the prions are still alive.
No, they don't. You have to actually burn them at the material. Like it has to be chemically destroyed because autoclave is high pressure, high temperature. I don't know it's 121 degrees, right? At some pressure, 5 atmospheres.
Jeez, you got a good memory.
No, no, no idea. But anyway, I could have made those numbers up, Ryan. So
Sound good though. Sound good.
yeah, so they'll kill bacterial spores. So bacteria can form spores where it's basically we say inactive bacteria and then
Mm.
becomes activated in a favorable environment. So they can be killed by autoclave. But prions are misfolded proteins, and they can't be destroyed in an autoclave. They have to be chemically destroyed with a fire. And what prions do is they, for example, in the brain, mad cow disease was one example of prions. So a prion will touch another normal protein, cause it to misshapen, and that becomes a prion itself, and then it touches another normal protein, yeah, causes zombie. It's like the form
The
of
zombie.
zombie apocalypse. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. Did you get into optometry undergrad?
Yeah, undergrad. So I was fortunate enough to so my like initially I didn't aim to become an optometrist. I know from your story, Ryan, age 12, right? It's like when you want to become
Yeah,
a
yeah,
optometrist. That's great, man. And I'm really happy for you right now. You're living the dream.
yeah. It's
Um
it's it's like one of those weird things, and you're like, oh, was that a good thing to know and just like follow this path, or well, you never know. But like my parallel universe must be living the random life.
the random life. Yeah. What would you do if you did optometry? Like would you be a podcaster or a marketer or
Oh
what would you
yeah,
do? Yeah.
yeah. No, so my alternative, because as I said, wanted to do it since I was 12, but I didn't get in from undergrad. So I went to Dunedin. So between, I had to wait until Waitangi Day. So I had a week to decide what I was going to do. And so my brother was doing engineering, and a bit like you, liked science and maths, so I was like, oh, maybe I'll just go to engineering, go to Christchurch, get an engineering degree. And then I was sort of had a moment where I was like, nah, I do really want to be an optometrist. I've wanted to be an optometrist for a long time. So like, what's an alternative? So I went to Otago, carried on doing science, and I got into a pre-honours program there, which was really good. Did lots of research skills with that. Sort of wrote up a research proposal that I would have followed on, and if I'd done honours. But I was kind of looking at that like, where does a career in science take you? And I was getting a little bit disheartened. I was like, oh. And by that stage, I'd done a pre-academy, which was for rugby. It was kind of like a program that the Otago Polytech did, where you got to do training and learn coaching skills and stuff. And yeah, it really helped my rugby. I managed to play a game for Varsity A in the Premier Rugby, and I was like, oh well, maybe I'll go home and I'll be a builder. So like that would have been one of my options. And then my other dream is to own a deer farm. So that's kind of part of my motivation of being a practice owner, is to raise enough equity and capital to buy a farm. So yeah, I don't know what my random life would have been like, but I still try to keep, despite my very prescribed optometry life, I keep some elements of fate and interest going on. So yeah, no, it was those first two exam or multi-choice exams that were worth 40%. They were in BioSci 107, so like human body systems.
Oh yeah, that's a long time ago, man. Like
yeah, and Chem 110. It was again 40% weighted, no plusage, and 50 multi-choice questions. You've got 3 hours or 2 hours.
Yeah,
I got 50% in both of them, so I was screwed.
Oh, okay, because there's a grade to get into optometry. I don't know if things have changed now, but
I got on the wait list, but yeah, I was like 26, and they're like, usually about half the people decline, and it was 52 spots. So yeah, I was right on the cusp.
Oh, yeah, nice. Yeah. What you got in postgrad, is that right? Postgrad, you're in because you're in Otago.
Yeah. And like I had an interview with Rob Jacobs. Did you have him while?
He was around, but we never had him formally teaching us. Like he would maybe take a few lessons, and then I think he was very. He's still there now, right? I think.
No, I think he left.
He's retired.
Yeah, I think he went to Australia maybe. But yeah, I remember my interview with Rob Jacobs, and like it was on the phone because I was in Invercargill, and yeah, it was the most nervous I've ever been in my life. Like I was like got off the phone and I was drenched. It was outrageous because it was
a phone interview, was it?
Yeah, phone interview.
Yeah,
and but getting in, that was pretty awesome.
Nice, man. So yeah, it was worth the travel, you know.
Yeah. What did you initially go into biomedical science hoping to do?
It was really medicine. So but then that was kind of, I don't know what I really want to do. You're 18, like I don't know.
Yeah,
well, Ryan, you're a special case. You're a special case. You knew what you wanted to do, but I was 18. Like I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do. So I actually had to I was actually on a podcast a few months ago. It was a science graduate podcast. So they were interviewing people who are science graduates, but also people who have done different things. So optometrists, but giving a similar response. I didn't know what I wanted to do at that time. So what career options do you have? It's engineer, like medicine. Those are kind of like the main careers. There's a lot more now that I know of, but back then I didn't know much. And then what was really peddled was just getting a secure job. And I guess like a lot of people are like that, but in New Zealand you can almost do nearly everything. So it's also a cultural thing too. So just taking it from where my parents have come from. So I'm Sri Lankan. I've got Sri Lankan heritage. I was born in New Zealand, but with Sri Lankan heritage, and just coming. Things may have changed now, but like the impression in Sri Lanka is that you have to do really well to just have a normal life. So if you don't do well, that's really hard to have even a normal life. So you take that mentality here in New Zealand. Not saying New Zealand's a lazy place or anything, but there's more opportunity. I believe you can do almost nearly everything. And I didn't know that at the time. So, okay, tick the box to do medicine. Didn't get into medicine. Optometry was like the second option. But I truly believe that, well, you're a different case, but you can't really follow your passion. You need to find a skill that it's marketable. And when I say that, it has to be an in-demand skill. Like you can't just do something you're passionate about and follow that fully. You need to have that. You need to be able to work in reality and have a job that is needed in society. And that's what optometry is. But it does combine a lot of skills that I like. So there's like new optometry. I think it's a weird intersection. It has like you got business, health, and you're working with people all in one. I think it's very rare to have that in a job. There's so many different skills you got to utilize. So
yeah, I think for me it was kind of like, so prior to wanting to be an optometrist, I had a couple of years of being a dog, a couple of years of being a firefighter, and then I had this dream of being a PE teacher in Queenstown, because I'd just be able to go snowboarding in the winter, and then like water skiing and mountain biking and like adventuring in the summer with my students. And then my mum was like, do you know how much it costs to live in Queenstown? and so I was like,
you gotta think about those things. You need to have that life experience, I think, under your belt. Like 18, like I was living at home and
Well, this is when I was
I have
9.
no. Oh, sorry.
So
Yeah.
yeah, my mum was like, just like giving me a little
9, 18. What's the difference?
yeah, it'll give me a little reality check on that dream. I still reckon it would be viable, but yeah, and then like those two things were helping people, and that's kind of been what I've landed on as a why. So it must be like deep
Yeah.
in my values and things, and that's improving people's lives. So firefighter, obviously, you're saving people, and teacher, you're helping people to become the best version of themselves, and especially in physical education, you're helping them learn and know about human body systems, but you're also helping them to like one, perform, and also learn how to gain improvement over time so that you can perform. So I think then seeing this this profession that, like, my younger brother had glasses since he was 3, and he must have been 10 or 9 or 10, and to be told you don't need glasses anymore, I didn't know what had happened, but I was like, that's amazing. And plus, what you're doing looks really cool. And like, my mum was a laboratory scientist, so I was seeing this person use a microscope. My dad was a physics teacher, so it was like, hey, this is physics. I was like, oh, this is like such a cool amalgamation of like what I've been exposed to up until that point, and it was helping people. And like, my little brother was stoked. So yeah, it was quite a cool thing to have as an impression of like that's possible. And then, like I said, it was a prescribed life, so it was basically like, so what do you have to do? And it was like, you got to go to Auckland University and study optometry, and to get there, the entrance criteria was like NCA level 3 with science, physics, and maths. And yeah, so that's just what I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting how you said like, I don't think the title was like the passion. I think the elements of the job are exactly the passion. Like I said, combining the business ideas, like how do you make it viable? How do you interact with people? If you do good by the people, then it's viable. And then the health side of things, and all the elements of looking at one organ that's a reflection of the body, but you're also treating and helping that organ function to the best of its ability is quite cool.
It is, yeah. I think coming back to the business elements, one of the biggest lessons I ever got, like from actually, I got a snippet of lessons from every single place I worked. But like my first job at Specsave is like one of the I think it's the SRS, or like one of the guys who like kind of runs multiple practices. Yeah. He said to me, like, he always, because I was doing an interview for what do you call it, Pathways? Yeah. And he said to me, it never worked out in the end, but I was interviewed for the second time, and he said he was like telling me about like if you got a disagreement with your partner, how do you like solve the situation? And then like I can only like talk about the metrics, like KPI based, or but he was like, Shivan, you got to think big, think big. That just stuck with me. And yeah, because his answer was like, you got to look at the big picture, and you got to work with your other partner. Like you can't just do things on a whim because you're working with someone. Like that was my biggest kind of experience with business skills, like in terms of the people skills and everything. Like yeah, I just don't. I never learned that from school. So that was kind of like my big lesson from Specsavers. And coming to Matthews, I think the general manager said to me, like it's about how you make people feel. Like, because I always worried, like, because coming from Specsavers, basically free eye exams, right? And they're coming into a situation where they're paying quite a lot of money for both the product, your glasses, and the service. And then I just felt like, because you're working in a situation where it's essentially free, even though you don't have to worry about it as an employee, it just felt like, am I doing the right job? Is what I'm doing worth it?
Mm-hmm.
And he always said to me, like, it's not about like that. It's about how you make people feel. And then any skill, like anything you do, like it's just about how you make people feel. Like if you're, for example, the course I'm doing, it's a high ticket sale, so it costs a lot of money to do the course. But then it's just how I feel about the course itself. Like I've paid for the course, but I'm getting really good care and treatment for it, so it made me feel good. It justified the spend. Does that make sense, Ryan? Like, yeah, I know it's a bit of diversion, but it's like the value's not in the money. It's like how people feel about it. It's just really, people are irrational at the end of the day. People aren't. Economics doesn't really. That's what economics breaks down, because people think irrationally.
As that whole. That's, I've learned the same thing. The power of the value proposition. And with a similar journey.
It's a very emotional thing. It's an emotional thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Going from Specsavers to then Patterson Burn, which is, as we said, similar to Matthew's group in that they're sort of a collection of independent practices run by a central organisation. And yeah, so going from sort of, if someone basically free if they're AA member or $60.
Yeah, if they're AA member, sorry, yeah. So it's not free eye exam, but yeah, it's free if you're AA member, yeah.
And then most extra tests and things being mostly free, like contact lens trials were free, aftercares were free, and then to start charging for my time, I think that's also part of why I started blogging, because I had a real sort of because in my second year down in Christchurch, I'd gone and done psychology, and that was around like assessing self-worth. And then it was like a real sort of identity crisis of going like, I've taken this job because I feel that I'm worthy of more and I can achieve more, and then like questioning myself from the conditioning that I'd just been through of giving away my skill that I worked 7 years to get, and like trying to do that, and then going to Australia and working with Medicare. And it was quite interesting because I was in two different types of practices. There was one that was solely Medicare. They call it.
That means that with Medicare, I'm not familiar with Australia, but they essentially people pay.
Yeah, so it's like tax funded.
Taken out their pay, tax funded, but then essentially the eye test is free because Medicare will pay.
Yeah, so I was about to say there's practitioners that will do Medicare subsidy only, and they tend to work in a value model. That's why Specsavers works so well in Australia, and it's a harder market for them here in New Zealand. And how they're getting around that.
They still do quite fantastic, and they're still pretty good. In
and it's
Zealand,
like 50% of the market, pretty much.
Market share, yeah. And I think I was talking to a friend about. I don't know. You probably look at the financials, and you'll see like not coronavirus, not GFC. It was Specsavers coming into the market that affected a lot of like the growth of small businesses. But I guess it leveled the playing field. That's kind of like the commentary. It didn't make things worse. It just made the playing field more level, because I think prior to that, a lot of independents had it quite good.
Yeah. And I think that's where, if you were going to place yourself in the independent market, you really needed to work hard on that value proposition. Like, what is and that's where you talked about in your video about the health aspect and potentially the corporatization devaluing the profession. And it's so if you're standing yourself up as an independent optometrist and a professional, you need to be delivering on that high-end, high-value, making them feel really good, giving them your time, treating them as a patient, not a customer.
Listening to their second language, that's the key. They have to be heard.
Yeah, and so that was the thing in Australia. I had this one practice that was solely Medicare, and then there's other practice that had what they call GAP, and we provided them OCT as well. So there was something there was an extra charge code for that, but it was like moving the needle and creating greater value. And then when it came to the frame salon, it was all the top European brands, and we had Face-a-Face, lots of those French ones. I think they're called like Lindor or something like that, which you can. So you sort of stocked like 70 units, but they were all bespoke. So you could kind of like choose out of all the
colors and everything. Wow.
Colors, materials, shapes, temples, temple tips. Yeah, like basically.
Wow. Okay, good. Full customization. Versus, I remember at some places I worked at, like when people ask different colors, be like, no, everything is what you see is what you get. There's no customization. Yeah.
And they were, again, something that was really fascinating within the space of optometry. They expected a certain unit of turnover. They expected you to hold the stock units that you weren't actually really supposed to sell. You were supposed to sell the customization. So it was a really interesting business model for that. And then when it came to Shakis, again, it was about being top of the top and giving them that full customer journey and real intense care, and being at practicing that ability to explain the difference between what we did and what they got at Specsavers. And It was interesting.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
getting harder, I think, especially
eight years
like
on, the people that
yeah,
come back, and it's the same here in Tokoroa. Plenty of people go to Rotorua and then they've come back to Tokoroa. Some of them have decided with COVID that they want to shop local. Others
yeah,
have haven't been happy with the value. It's that value proposition and where you're going to sit, and that's where when they come back, you've really got to deliver on
yeah.
their perception of you as a brand.
Do you feel like there's a lot of pressure, Ryan, or do you think it's like it's a competition? It's like playing rugby. I get to like
Nah, no.
get to like no pressure. It's just like I get to work the best I can. It's a good feeling to have.
Yeah, and that was something I learned at Check, that you want your patients to buy into your vision as well. And I'm quite happy. Like it's a market. I'm quite happy for people to, do the market. That if they don't value what you're doing, well then why would I chase them? Because they don't see the vision that I'm presenting them, and that's a chance to work on my communication, work on my ability to talk through that value. But at the same time, it's a free market, and you can't appease everyone. It's like
Yeah, you can't please everyone, and plus
analogous
you
with
can't
life.
change your yeah, exactly. You can't change your entire model just for one person if they're not happy. That's why another thing I had to figure out, because I remember working at my final job at Folk, it was like, because we were quite premium, and then some people would be like, "Oh, this is too expensive," or like, "Why should I shop here?" It's like, not like I can get it cheaper down the road. It's like, oh, well, I don't know what to say. Like, that's kind of like it hurt as well, man. Like when
Yeah.
people say that to you, and then I think my manager said at the time, or my boss said at the time, he's like, yeah, these things happen, but like you can't change your entire model just for this person. And there are people who like we're booked out almost a month in advance. So people were willing to see us. They wanted to come and see us. So like, don't worry about that person. Like, yeah, it's just it's funny. It made me really rethink how like marketing works. So for example, you got Specsavers, which is probably the bigger like the big mid portion, they're pretty much, they make eye care affordable, and they got that really big middle market, and you got the top percent who like $2,000, whatever X amount of money for glasses. It's like nothing to them. It's not, they want to have like the best care possible. They want to turn up and just have everything done for them. Like they can come in, get their glasses and go.
And sometimes like they buy 2 pairs, and it's just like
you buy 2 pairs, it's nothing to them. And then
it's like the most amazing customer experience. You're just like, wow. Like, what happened there?
So yeah,
and like you talk about marketing, like everyone knows that. Like should have gone to Specsavers. Like that's so catchy, but then it's like
good slogan.
Yeah, estimated $6 million marketing budget, and that's like more than a lot of these independent practices turnovers, and it's just like
So I think a lot of them have to focus on word of mouth. That's the key thing. So like, cause I was thinking, we should have a YouTube channel. Like, it'd be cool to have a blog for our for our practice website, but it's not going to really, no one's going to, I think especially with independents, more like, where'd you go for those glasses? Like, how's that person? It's more like word of mouth, whereas people don't really Google you for those sorts of things. And then when they do Google optometry stuff, it's going to come up with corporates. So, and it's really hard to compete with SEO on corporates because they've got a whole team who specializes in that domain. So you just have to focus on word of mouth and doing things that a corporate can't do. For example, specialty care, because I feel like a lot of specialty care doesn't fall in the corporate model. It's difficult to support those things because like if you want to maximize profit, and to maximize profit is selling glasses. I think that's your bread and butter. So what are your thoughts on that, Ryan? Is that kind of wrong?
I think in the corporate model, absolutely, and that's where in the independent model you've got to think differently, and you've got to have that point of difference. And so that's why I think the specialist care is very important, because that's going to drive the word of mouth. For the last so actually when I was at Patterson Burn, just when I first got to Cambridge, I won a Blefix, which is a sort of it's like an electric toothbrush, really. That is for applying tea tree oil to the eyelashes to kill a microscopic mite that can colonize the eyelashes. And so I sort of had this tool and treated a few people while I was at Patterson Burn, and we didn't really have the pricing right. that tool's expendables, like it goes by the toothbrush model, and they were like too really high priced to make margin out of the procedure. So it was a bit of a flop. And then over in Australia, I didn't actually see that much of it, but I used it a couple of times because I took it with me because it was mine. And then when I came back to Hawke's Bay, we found another we did a real sort of profit loss analysis of this treatment and like compared it to a regular eye exam. So like, are we better off just doing a regular eye exam? And it was like, well, it's a shorter amount of time. We found better expendables for it, and we managed to make it profitable. And it was sort of 2 appointments, so there was another touch point with your patient. It was a real, when you tell someone they got a microscopic mite in their eyelash and you can show them a photo of it. That was the other really cool thing at Checkkeys. We had good technology, slit lane cameras. You could show them a photo of their eyelash.
Cameras, I think every practice has that camera. It's just so good to like, you can, cause like, I'm trying to like do it with my phone.
Yeah, I do it with my phone at the moment, eh? Yeah.
But it's great to educate people that we can see this, like this little tiny eyelash is causing you, like, is ruining your day. Oh, and it's kind of, yeah.
Eyelashes, they are the worst.
Yeah.
I've got a gentleman that, like, in the last 3 weeks, is like, they grow, his ones grow so fast as well. He's not even a glaucoma patient because the drops can make your eyelashes grow fast. Yeah, like, it's funny, like something unique like Demodex, they go away and tell 10 people, and it's like the bad word of mouth is coming out for the good for a change, because it's such a unique niche thing that they'd never even known about, and they've had these irritated eyes for so long, and you've solved their problem. And same, like we're talking about orthokeratology, sometimes you get people show up and they're -4 and they've been progressing every single year and need new glasses every single year, and you go, hey, we're going to stop that. And 2 years down the track, they're still using the same lens, and it's awesome because they've got return on their investment. They've had to go from getting glasses every year and fronting up for orthokeratology, and then I don't need new glasses, and hey, your eye condition's not getting worse, and we've stopped all these risk factors. So
and like the Forged by Ep2 lenses are just so like 6.5, man. Like it's just crazy how good they are, and it's magic. It's like they go in and it's just crazy. I remember like in university, it was like multiple fits, washout with Paragon CRT, because like it was always done wrong, or like they saw like three different people, but like it's just beautiful. Bang bang in 6.5.
Did you get to do a fit at uni?
That's a good question. I was probably involved in the process of a fit. We actually saw patients in uni.
Yeah. Well, I always said we, but I don't think I did a keratoconic fit. I don't think I did an orthokeratology fit. Yeah,
it was always like I was in the.
And then I worked for Specsavers for 18 months. And then so I really felt like I was 18 months behind the 8 ball. And then I worked for Patterson Byrne for 2.5 years. I got like reasonably well schooled up and practiced in some entry-level behavioural stuff. And then when I went to Australia, because I was by myself, I was like, right, I just need to... there were some patients on the books that wore hard lenses. So I was like, right, I've got to learn, like call up the manufacturers, like read the manufacturing guides. Thankfully, in one of my practices, they didn't really have many patients left, so I had plenty of time to read up on stuff. But
nice.
Yeah, it was paid learning, that was for sure. Yeah,
I think I never got past Rose K. That's kind of like my go-to starting lens for a
good lens, man.
I think it's but you can't find like the because the manual is always like when you search it up, it goes to Rose K2. Like it's like really hard to find like a fitting guide for Rose K.
It's the same.
Same.
Yeah. And I think even when you order a Rose K, that's CLC. What are they? Corneal Lens Corporation. They'll send you back a Rose K2. Yeah. So if you're still listening, a hard lens is a custom shaped lens to fit this person's eye. So the front of their eye is irregular. And so this lens sits over their eye and neutralizes that shape, and so basically gives their eye a new surface. It means that they can see, and it's amazing. They've got this big distorted image, and then all of a sudden they got this crystal clear image. It's they're a cool set of patients when you can get it right, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, because I guess these people can't see very well, even with glasses, it's like not great. And then put a lens on, it's like changed their life. They can see like their fingers, all the details. So By the way, Ryan, these explanations are really good. I'm taking notes.
Yeah, yeah. I had a good keratoconus guy. He needed a graft in one of his eyes, so that eye's basically blind at the time, and then his
Yeah.
other eye was very, very distorted. So I think it was my second or third. It was it must be my second scleral fit. So this very large hard lens that you land on the white
Yeah.
of the eye, and so you basically vault the whole cornea. So that's out of the picture. You're just worried about the front surface, but you've got to make sure that it never touches the eye. So we fit it with that fish finder machine, the OCT,
Mm.
and you image and make sure that it's clear of the cornea. And yeah, that guy went from not being able to drive, not being able to get a job, to bang, he was back in business, and the smile on his face when he came back and was like, yeah, I'm working. And he had like young kids and stuff. It was one of the most satisfying patients ever. And I saw my old boss on the weekend, and he said
Yeah.
about this other guy who's a firefighter, his keratoconus, unfortunately, but yeah, he's doing well. And I was like, yeah, that's cool to hear. Yeah, that's cool.
That's good, man. That's really good to hear those stories. I had one kind of bad, no, it wasn't really a great outcome, but I was at low vision, and then this guy he was assaulted, and that resulted in he'd actually lost half his vision. So he got a hemianopia. So that's basically when you lose half your vision in both eyes. Um,
Was that because of head
and
trauma?
head trauma, yeah.
Oh, far out.
Yeah, and that was 6 months, I think. And Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong. 6 months time, like if there's no improvement, it's like very likely the vision won't come back.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a bit disappointing to tell him that you can't drive, and then him not being able to drive meant he couldn't. Like, he told me a specific story where he has to like go and pick up his daughter. He wouldn't be able to do that, and he was separated from his partner as well. So it's a bit of a yeah, it's kind of, and like his family was there too. So both of them were in tears. So it's kind of like you get the good and you get the pretty bad as well. So yeah, and
Yeah.
assault case too. So like I had to write, with my job would be just basically writing a letter saying like this man's life is like changed because of the injury. So yeah, so in a bad way too.
Yeah, that telling someone they can't drive anymore sucks. I,
Yeah, yeah.
I had
Especially like he was my age, Ryan. Like it's just
oh, fuck.
it's worse when it's like we're the same age.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That was the same for my that diabetes story I wrote. It was, she was
yeah.
similar age. She was trying to have kids, and I was looking at her eye, just being like, oh my gosh, this is not good. And if that's what your
Yeah.
eyes look like, what do other things look like? It's like, it was so sad, like seeing someone like you say your age, and the information that we know about type 1 diabetes now and how well it can be managed. That information just wasn't, would have been hard to find, and I think in New Zealand not really around. And just, to see someone that's going to go blind, but not only that, it's a reflection of other organs. I was just like, oh, and it was
Yeah,
like,
it's quite sad.
it was the very start of the year as well. It was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, start a year on a bad note, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, I think, Ryan, what's your opinion on this? So, because with diabetes, I think it's in 2040 it's going to double. Do you think it's like a fault of government, or is it a fault of or had to get political, but is it like the marketing behind? Because like since I'm getting into content creation, I've been learning more about marketing. So in YouTube, when you make a YouTube video, I hope we're not going overtime, Ryan. You don't have a hard stop,
There's
do you?
no time.
No, no,
No.
no. Cool, cool. So in YouTube, when you make a YouTube video, it's you want to focus on these two aspects. You got your content, and you got the thumbnail and title. So you might know about this, Ryan. So like the most
I
important
don't.
thing is your
I'm learning right here because I don't pay any
learning right
attention to
here.
this.
Okay. So like it's really important how you package your content. So you can have the great video, but if no one actually clicks on that video, it's never ever going to be discovered by the algorithm. So you want to have a good thumbnail and title. And some YouTubers like Mr. Beast. So Mr. Beast is a YouTuber. I think he's got over 50 million subscribers. That's a lot of subscribers. And this too, they also have teams that work behind the scenes as well. But if he's going to make a video, the first thing he will get is thumbnail and title. If he has no thumbnail or title, he won't make that type of video. So the key thing is your packaging. So coming back to marketing, I've been thinking a lot about marketing and how like businesses market things. And I don't know if I'm falling into a trap of thinking this is like conspiracy theory, or this is actually the nature of marketing. But like, for example, I don't know if you've read Michael Pollan's book on he's a journalist. He wrote a real simple book about something about eating food, and how he said it's
Yep.
like eat less, eat more vegetables. It's like a one liner in there that's really important. But he talks about how when you're shopping, try and avoid everything in the middle. That's where
Mm.
like all the breakfast foods are, or like the processed foods, and everything on the edge is like your vegetables. Because a lot of people spend more time in the middle.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, yeah. So do you think it's like marketing, corporations, capitalism, which is like affecting the health of the population? So, for example, fast food, shopping, like when you go to the supermarket, most things are, the most eye-catching things are the things that aren't good for you. Do you think that's kind of like the issue? And even with education doesn't matter because a lot of people don't really do things because they're educated on it. They do it because of their habits, and habits are formed by our amygdala, which is the, like the emotional part of our brain, and that's really, marketers use the amygdala to sell their products. What do you think, Ryan?
Short answer, yes. um, but I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's brand protection. Like as you said,
Yeah,
marketing is a tool for them to become more
make money.
profitable. Yeah, so
Yeah,
they're lifelong businesses. Um,
and it's a cutthroat word out there. We have to say
yeah,
like, business is cutthroat. Yeah, even though
we
I've got no business experience, but I've been told.
where it does border on conspiracy. I've had Belinda and Gary Fecky on the podcast, and
Yeah.
Belinda, when Gary was being taken to the Australian Health Practitioners Act board, they had the head of nutrition from Sydney University there, and they found it really strange that this guy was, the key witness against Gary, and they sort of looked at, the common term of like follow the money, and sure enough, he was being funded by Sanitarium, and so again, like this is where it borders on conspiracy. So like, the US, UK, and Sweden in 2018 created a consensus that diabetes or type 2 diabetes is able to be put into remission. Interestingly, one of the papers that they quote in this consensus is from 2002. Anyway, and then just recently, Australian Diabetes Association has just acknowledged that. So Michael Mosley, who's from the UK, he's written some books, one in particular on the 5-2 dieting, which is sort of similar to fasting, and he's written a number of diet books. He's now a doctor. Ray Kelly, who I've had on this podcast, and
Yeah.
Dr. James Moeki, who was Australian of the Year last year. He's he can no longer practice because of a neurodegenerative condition, but he was an ophthalmologist and was Australian of the Year. They've just had a television show in Australia around low carbohydrate eating, which is one of the ways that this consensus statement has acknowledged that people can put diabetes into remission. So I've sort of been covertly fighting the fight for low carb for a little while. I always print off this handout from another GP in the UK called Dr. David Unwin, and it basically is, from a case study they did, what they do in practice really, where they had 19 people for 8 months in this case study. 18 people came back at the end of the 8 months, so I immediately say that shows that this is pretty simple to follow. Not 18 out of 19 people were able to keep this up for 8 months, and of that 18, 16 of them put their diabetes in remission. And so when you improve your blood glucose, your endogenous insulin, so the insulin your pancreas secretes, becomes less, and so that also means that your cholesterol and blood pressure can improve, and many of that patient base did improve, and the other two improved their diabetes, so brought that HbA1c number down by 20 points. And again, because their glucose was lower, their insulin's lower, and they're able to easily lose weight, and those two lost an average of 25 kgs. So it's this whole bundle of story. But in New Zealand at the School of Nutrition in Otago, and a bit like in Australia with the University of New South Wales, there's this massive influence of Sanitarium, okay? And
To fund the studies, right?
yeah, to fund studies, and like university, this is where they like follow the money thing. If you're a professor, you need funding to be able to do your studies. You need to pay your salary. You need to pay for the resources. You need to be able to go to the conference to present your findings, and it's not free. You need to give some scholarships to some undergraduates or PhD candidates, so you need money, and Sanitarium supports that. And so what Belinda found out is that the sort of father of Sanitarium, which is Kellogg's, is also the people that began the American Dietetics Association. And also there's a university, if you ever hear all the sort of health benefits for veganism, it comes from this university in California called Loma Linda, which is a Seventh-day Adventist university. There's also a hospital in Boston that's an Adventist cardiac hospital, and again they prescribe the vegan diet for people to improve their cardiac health. There's element of truth to that, but again, it's this big conglomerate. And so Loma Linda, in their sort of statement that said they're changing the face of nutrition science in the world, quoted Belinda's findings that she went back to the origins of Kellogg's and the Seventh-day Adventist Church, trying to prove these visions of this lady that have followed through into dietetics. And it was kind of like this ironic quote of like they were acknowledging the not conspiracy, but the perpetuation of their belief. And that's followed into our food pyramids, it's followed into our school lunches, it's followed into eat your whole grain bread, your heart healthy grains and all that sort of stuff, when really it's in part a narrative, and unfortunately it's contributed to diabetes and blood pressure and cholesterol and heart attacks and all that sort of stuff. And then the other weird thing that you hear about soy milk and soybean oil and all that sort of stuff, again, that's a Seventh-day Adventist business out of China. So like it's all like quite circular and massive,
Yeah, wow. And then I think people just don't really care, or what's the situation? Like, I think like when I go to let's say a party, no one's going to be. If I say this to people, no one's going to really like take a note of it. They're going to be.
Well, it's just like so much knowledge that it's kind of like, oh yeah, so what
overpowering.
Yeah, what do you do? What do you do?
It's like climate change, right? Climate change is like I can't really like as an individual, I can't really do anything about it. So I just live my life as normal.
Yeah, and then it's like in terms of business and perpetuating the story, these sort of Sanitarium, Kellogg's, Nestle, and Coca-Cola, all PepsiCo, all team up. Everyone's probably seen that that diagram of
food map.
Yeah, the food.
Yeah, it's crazy how. Yeah, well, I mean, same thing like with optometry, right? It's all the same. Like you're saying how like in the body everything's the same. Like business is all the same. Like looking at, I guess in optometry too, like things are becoming more like we're talking about the independents on one side, then you got like the big corporates on. It's like
the Luxottica movement,
polarizing it. Yeah. It's polarizing. It's a duopoly or monopoly. I don't know about. I feel like in New Zealand we've got like the corporates, and then there's still a quite strong following for independents. But now we've got sort of independents merging together. Like with Matthews, it's like a big unit. Passive Burn's like a big unit. I think the
Physique Group, they're all independently.
It's cooperative, right? Yeah. But they're kind of under collective umbrella to protect themselves. So it's kind of same thing with foods. It's all becoming one. Tech companies, it's like all sucking into like kind of big bubbles. I was thinking about this with gyms too. Like even I was talking to the gym that I go to. It's called Platform Palmy. He's a one-man show.
Yeah.
And he's just got strongman equipment. It's a lot of like weightlifting bars, powerlifting, stones, tires, sledgehammers, trees. You can not trees, but like that.
Logs.
Logs. And he's got a grand vision. But City Fitness, I think they're the number one in New Zealand. And he was telling me like with City Fitness, like $5. the best. Is it $5? But the best gym guy is someone who doesn't turn up at all. They're the best gym guy. Which is kind of like, what's the point? The model's not really, focused on the person. So, and he was saying like, I don't know if he's right or wrong, but then 70% of people on their list don't turn up. So that's just straight income into the gym.
Yeah.
And a lot of them will have like cancellation fees. So it's like, you might as well just not cancel. And I think for habits, like the default option is the best option, and the default option is to just keep paying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I learned a lot of that from being connected with Real Movement Project and Keegan Smith, and he's trying to foster the type of gym you're talking about, the
Yeah.
really connected, buy-in, invested. You want everyone on your list to be showing up, and hopefully have a small community, like what we're talking about with that CrossFit experience. And now that's turned into this knees over toes movement. Getting mentioned on Joe Rogan, getting mentioned on Mark Bell podcast. Being interviewed on Mark Bell podcast. It's pretty cool to see. And that Keegan's experience has come from high performance sport. Working with Catalan Dragons, working with Sydney Roosters. West Tigers,
Evidence-based, a lot of evidence-based, like it's scientific, and also it's like proven on the field. So
yeah. And like a lot of mistakes. Like he admits, like he tried a lot of things. They might not have landed one season, and he learnt. But it was like you say, trying to take that evidence base to the real world, and you're like trying to amalgamate it, and then you've got to get them to perform on the field. And it's like, do I want them to be epic gym people but get injured and not be able to play, or do I want to make them resilient?
Yeah,
it's an
art form as well. It's not just pure science. It's like an art to coaching as well, I guess. So
yeah, but no, it's funny, even within independent gyms with online coaching, a lot of people are getting their programming from other sources. So that's where if someone has a good platform, they're creating programming and making money from programming. And so a lot of gyms, even though they're independent, the programming is the same. It's like
it's weird.
That is kind of CrossFit as well. Yeah. So Shivan, where do people find you? I think like your LinkedIn's really good, YouTube's really good, your blogging as well, man. Like where do people find all these things?
Yeah, that's actually where do you find me? I think Twitter would be really good. So
what do you do on there?
I just post stuff on Twitter, man. That's kind of I'm everywhere. So if you just type my name, Shivan, hopefully it just comes up with like my last name, and then you can hit enter and you find me there. But I think Twitter would be a good place. LinkedIn, actually, we'll do LinkedIn. That's quite good. But I guess you're over in the show notes.
Yeah, man.
Just pop your message on LinkedIn. I'm happy to respond. So I'll give you my LinkedIn and Twitter, and then that's kind of like the two platforms I'm really active on. And if anyone wants to give me a message or get in touch, I'm keen. If you want to discuss anything further,
awesome, bro. And so, like, you're a bit like me. You're focused on this career, but you're also working out, juggling a lot of balls, seeing what else can come of it. What keeps you flowing along? Like, what's the direction that makes things go well and shows up when things are going well? It can be a quote or a way you live your life.
Okay, a really good quote is given by a monk. I can't remember the name of the monk or the exact quote, but it's something on the lines of, and you may know this, Ryan, it's like you're falling, like you're free falling. The bad news is you don't have a parachute, but the good news is no ground. So that's how I just treat life. Like you're constantly in this crisis/anxiety phase, but it's all good. Like if you accept it, it's a beautiful thing. It's a good place to be. Like I want to have that kind of anxiety, or because if I have that sort of fear, it means it's important to me. And if I'm in this crisis, I always want to change and make things better. And then if they didn't have that, I wouldn't be driven to do anything. So that's kind of like what my fuel to my fire.
Awesome. I have heard that, but that was a great sort of meaning behind it and how that lands with you, which is really cool, bro. Mate, this has been an awesome chat, and like obviously we've talked about heaps of stuff. We've geeked out a little bit on some optometry, so if you've managed to stick with us till the end, thank you so much. And
thank you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, reach out to Shivan and check out his links in the show notes. Awesome. We'll press stop.
Great. Thank you.